Morning is from a Russian poet and writer. His name is Fyodor Dostoevsky, and he says, "The man who lies to himself and listens to his own lie comes to a point that he cannot distinguish the truth within him or around him, and so loses all respect for himself and for others." Let me take it again. The man who lies to himself and listens to his own lie comes to a point that he cannot distinguish the truth within him or around him. And when that happens, he loses all respect for himself and for others. Quite intriguing, yeah? Right. And it's because, you see, when you tell a lie consistently, your mind has a way of making you believe the lie as truth. So even when everyone can tell clearly that this is a lie, you yourself find it difficult to distinguish between reality and that lie you're telling. And so, to avoid all of this, as an adult, why tell lies? Who is going to spank you? Who will beat you? Nobody. And so let's stick to the truth, because you know the truth always stands, and the lie will keep going on and on. But let's now bring you the video of the day. But before we do that, let's check out the word for the day.
Today's word has different pronunciations: Byzantine, 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 or Byzantine. It all depends on your preference, but let's go with Byzantine. Byzantine is an adjective, and it means complicated or difficult to understand. Let's use it in a sentence. The Ahmed scandal has become Byzantine for many people. Byzantine.
Well, so that's the word of the day, Byzantine. And clearly this show will not be Byzantine, because it will be very interesting and also easy for you to comprehend. And now it's time to check out the video of the day.
Okay, I want to do something like...
GH1 OB van has been one of the best vans I've used personally in this country. It runs a system where we are able to run on Dante to be able to do our broadcast mixed well also from this van.
I've used this OB van for quite a number of big productions, i.e. 3 music awards, the late President Rollis' state funeral, Miss Africa awards, and a number of them.
My experience with the GH1 van has been the state of the art equipment they have. Personal experience is you can use it for both indoor and outdoor, all events, conferencing, like anything you need a van to work for you, GH1 provides it.
My experience with the van has been very good. Why? Because it has a number of facilities that I may not get in other vans. You know, the van has a very wide bench that can accommodate all my technical crew. ICC, switcher, graphics, CG, and all of that. And then it also has a studio, a green room studio that comes with TriCaster. So if you want somebody to do commentary on a live event, you can put that presenter who's in that studio as well and get that running. To
give an experience to our audience, we're also watching on TVs and online. Work with an Exo technology system, which makes your video mixing with Panasonic cameras, like a lot of other stuff in terms of content you need to get also for your live broadcasts.
I prefer the GH1 van to a lot of other vans I've used, or even doing my own setup on a tabletop setup. Because on a production you see a number of people in the van. And so if you have a very small van, it means that it's going to be choked, and that will affect the creativity as well. The price has been discounted as well to accommodate varied budgets. And so no matter the budget you have, I understand you can have the truck and do business with it.
It looks huge, but very affordable. Cost is really, really affordable. My experience with this EMI awards last year, super excellent. Try it, call them, and I'm going to give you the best of price. Really affordable.
tone for the morning this morning, I should say, this Monday. A lot of people don't like Mondays. I still don't understand why. But of course, Mondays are very special days. You only don't like Mondays when you don't like your job. Yeah, that's it. I said it. Well, I love Mondays, and so I hope that you also do love Mondays as I do. And as we ease into the conversation this morning, I always invite you to be a big part of the conversation. Facebook, X, and YouTube, we're live. So do join us with your thoughts, your comments, your views, and contributions. But let's talk about something that we are learning as it stands now. The sad passing on of the member, I should call him a former ambassador to India. He's also the former chairman of the NDC's professional forum, Ambassador Assin Yalley. We are learning of his passing, and he used to be a regular on the show at a point. Even in the lead up to the 2024 elections, he was mostly here with us. I mean, I personally engaged him on this platform quite a number of times, but what we are learning is his sad demise. Ambassador Assin Yalley basically leaving us here. And people are quite worried and sad about this development because the man really fought hard in terms of his advocacy for the NDC in the lead up to the 2024 election. So, I mean, a few months into the administration of John Dramani Mahama, we are learning of his passing. And this is what Malik Basintale put on Facebook. He says, Ambassador Assin Yalley, you were a good man. We shall meet again someday. His Excellency, as I always called you. And so in the course of the day, we'll also be updating you on what people are saying in terms of messages of condolence to his family on his passing. Ambassador Assin Yalley, may his soul rest in perfect peace. Right, so Ambassador Assin Yalley there, we are learning of his demise, and we say our condolences to his family. He was a very vocal man, very media friendly. I mean, he was one of the people you can easily get to be on your show and have a discussion on national issues. But talking about national issues, I don't know if you've monitored the trends over the weekend. On X is being a heated one between the Minister of State in charge of government communications, Felix Kwasi, and then the Member of Parliament for Assin South, who is also the ranking member on the Defence and Interior Committee of Parliament, Reverend GHOne Kodjo. And all this started because on the 1st of April, Reverend GHOne Kodjo put out some information alleging that there's been some illicit activities with a flight or two flights that came into Ghana in March and departed on the 25th of March specifically. Now, he has cause to believe that there's been some undoing in terms of illicit activities, talking about money laundering, alleged money laundering, as well as drug trafficking claims. And so when he put the information out, you saw the president's post. John Dramani Mahama invited him or asked him to collaborate with the security services. And over the course of the conversation, we have had to even personally here at EIB Network get information from Ahmed on exactly why their flights were in Ghana. Now, we thought that would have been the end of the issue, especially after we saw the Minister of State in charge of government communications talk to us in a video about what their investigations have been able to unravel. Now, some say that we should not leave the communication to the government side because the government is being impounded to this conversation and says when cocaine and money laundering activities are exposed and questioned, you expose your emotional connections to these transnational crimes, shield cocaine cartels and money launderers from prosecution and resort to insults. My good friend Felix Kwasi, I can appreciate your frustration. So that was Johnny Tim Kodjo's response to his colleague. Mind you, these two men are parliamentarians. They are in parliament. Then Felix also responds to that and says, you are wasting everyone's time by debasing parliamentary oversight to peddle infantile lies. You have no proof, no basis, and cannot show same in even 1,000 years. Even when clear facts are presented to you, you still remain pig-headed in your lies. This is being a clown, my friend. Interestingly, they both call themselves friends, and this is what they're doing, going at each other on social media. So these are two MPs, two members of parliament, resorting to social media to deal with issues. Now, Jonathan Kodjo responds and says, cocaine buying spokesperson, instead of providing answers to the high-profile cocaine busts, money laundering and suspicious flights, you're here using 78.8 million of Ghanaian taxpayers' money to peddle insults. Where is the cocaine and laundered money? Felix, my good friend. And he tags him also, again, in this post. Interesting dynamics happening between two members of parliament, two honorable members of parliament on social media, and this is how they're going at each other. So it's been fiery on social media over the weekend, and there are a lot, because if you recall, I spoke to Reverend John Intimidation on this platform last week. He indicated that he is ready. In fact, he's available today, Monday, 7th of April 2025, to speak with the security services, the four institutions that the president, John Dramani Mahama, indicated in his post on social media that they should collaborate with him to be able to bring this matter to some level of finality. And so we would cross our fingers and hope to see that meeting materialize, and then we'll get to know how this transcends. But the truth of the matter is that for two honorable MPs, this is not the way to resort to issues. Name calling on social media, insults here and there. I mean, come on, please leave these for the people that you would say maybe are party faithful, who are grassroots members. Yes, we can understand that. But for you who are paid with the taxpayers' money as members of parliament, resorting to social media this way, I think it's quite unfortunate. But let's talk about another issue that was also quite dominant over the weekend. You realize that I think somewhere last month, the former member of parliament for Domi, Kwabena Adjua-Safo, she has been on a media tour, basically speaking her mind as to things that happened to her while the NPP was in power. Now, she raised quite a number of issues, and then the party quickly had to step in and say, you know what, pull the brakes. We don't want anyone going on any media platform to speak about matters that would cause disaffection for the party. So, yes, we saw all of that. She says she cannot be gagged. Party says you lie bad. It's not going to happen. Party first before individual sentiments. Mind you, the MPP is still reeling from the loss in the 2024 elections. And so the party wants to re-strategize, re-energize its base for 2028. So there was a letter on the 24th day of March that was basically to Adjua-Safo, calling her to appear before the disciplinary committee of the party today. Now, that's that letter there on the 24th of March. And it says that I extend to you the warm regards pursuant to the directive of the chairman of the disciplinary committee, The details of the scheduled hearing are as follows. Monday, April 7, which is today, actually. The time is 11 a.m. Venue, conference room, MPP headquarters, Asylum Down, Accra. Enclosed herewith is a copy of the referral letter from the General Secretary for your reference. And it goes on and on and on and on and on. Yours sincerely, and was signed for the Secretary to the Disciplinary Committee, Honorable Patrick Boama, by the Director of Finance and Administration, William Yamwa. So this was copied to the National Chairman, the General Secretary, the Chairman of the Disciplinary Committee, and then addressed to Adjua-Safo, Sarah Adjua-Safo. This was on the 24th. So by this letter, we're expecting that the party would have a communication with Adjua-Safo today. But just yesterday, April 6, 2025, this letter came out, a postponement of the said hearing. Now, it says that further to our earlier correspondence dated March 24 with reference number inviting you to appear before the disciplinary committee on Monday, April 7, we wish to notify you that the said hearing has formally been postponed. Emerging scheduling adjustments and internal considerations necessitated this decision. Once rescheduled, we will notify you promptly of the new date and time for the hearing. So this is a postponement letter to what would have been the hearing for Adjua-Safo today. And it says that we appreciate your anticipated cooperation and reaffirm the party's commitment to upholding the values of fairness, due process, and procedural integrity in all deliberations. So what this letter now comes to say and indicates is that Adjua-Safo is not going before the disciplinary committee today as earlier advertised. And so for those of you who are waiting to get to know exactly how that will turn out, I'm sorry to disappoint you. It's not going to happen because per this letter, there's been a postponement, and it is said that a date will be arrived at and communicated to her. That date we do not know yet. So we'll just adopt a wait and see approach and get to know exactly how all of this turns out in the coming days. And so we'll keep an eye on that for you. But at least it is confirmed Adjasafo is not going before the disciplinary committee today, as earlier communicated to us. Well, that brings us to time to check out now Inside Out. Well, so on Inside Out today, we are looking at the MMDCE nomination list. I mean, for those of you who follow us ardently, on Monday, that was last week, Monday, on State of Affairs, I had a conversation with the Minister for Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, and he indicated that a new list will be coming out by the end of the week. So yes, on Friday, we saw a new list that came out, indicating persons for different positions here and there. But it's quite interesting that after that list came out, there's been a lot of agitation as well. Now, before that, the first list came out, we saw all of those confusions and people unhappy, and I spoke to the minister about it, and he indicated that there's a process that is followed, due process that will ensure that the right crop of people are nominated. And I asked him, I pushed it to him, and I wanted to find out, people lobby, but then as a minister, what role does he have to play in who becomes MMDCE for any area? He says, well, he does not have any hand in it because the system is such that it is unbribable, it is unlobbyable. He says that you cannot lobby, you cannot bribe your way through, you have to go through due process. So, you know what, let's take a listen to him. For those of you who are still agitating over the names that you're seeing, because perhaps your candidate, your favorite candidate was not shortlisted or was not nominated, listen to the minister. When I come back from this, we'll not look at the list that has been issued. We are seeing what? For the Ashanti region, only one person has been nominated for KMA as it stands now. And we'll see for Upper East and all of those other regions. But first, let's listen to the minister.
Clearly, that I isolated myself from that kind of lobbying. Okay. Assuming I knew you were always first in your class. If you were to contest for that, even though I know your academic capacity, that wouldn't warrant me to make you DCE. You will still go through the mail. That is me, and you know that is how I do. And I insulated myself from lobbying. So you can come and sleep in my house. That will not make you DCE. The system is said that it's unbribable, it's unlobbyable. You cannot lobby your... You know, you needed to go through the regional vetting.
Yes.
Then there was Global Info Analytics that had to do opinion poll on the shortlisted ones from the region. Your region needed to bring the marks that they awarded during your vetting. Your score, that made you to be shortlisted. Your regional executive needed to produce that to the national vetting. Global Info Analytics needed to bring his results in all the 261. Then there was a national BNI investigation on all the 261 districts. So there were 4 criteria: regional vetting to shortlist 3, global info analytics on the 3, BNI investigation report on the 3, then national vetting to bring the final one out. So what role would the Minister for Local Government do? My role was just to make sure that I established this template to do their work. And if you look at the class of people, there was no way you could go and stand before any of them and tell them that you are lobbying. How will you lobby? The criteria is there are reps from Parliament, reps from the executives, and reps from the party, a tripartite committee.
Right.
And the reps from the party are the General Secretary and the National Chairman. The reps from the Parliament are the longest serving member of Parliament, Alhaji Collins Dauda. He's been in Parliament for 32 years now. Then, Honorable Emmanuel Kwesi-Bejira, he's been in Parliament for 17 years. I entered Parliament with him. Beyond that, he's the chairman of the regional, all the 16 regional caucuses of MPs. He's the chairman. and the president of the Parliamentary Christian Fellowship. Then Honorable Cletus Avoka, he's a member of the Council of State and the former majority leader. And he's been in Parliament for 24 years. A former regional minister, a former interior minister, a former majority leader, a 24-year member of Parliament, and now a member of the Council of State. How will you bribe him? He knows the NDC inside out.
Right.
Then you come to somebody like Honorable Minister for Gender and Member of Parliament for Krowo, Honorable Namomo Lati.
Yes.
He's been the General Secretary of the National Association of Local Government, a former presiding member of Krowo constituency, a sitting member of Parliament, and a Minister for Gender. So when it comes to matters of gender, there were 2 women, 5 men, 5 male, 2 female. Then you have Dr. Valerie Soya, who has been a former Deputy Chief of Staff and the current Presidential Advisor on Government Affairs and a seasoned lawyer. So how will you approach any of those 7 people? So they were those who took the Global Info Analytics, the national vetting, invited the regional executives to come and justify how they did the shortlisting.
Right.
So if a regional executive sat in his office and gave marks to anybody, he needed to come openly to justify how. You can.
So that's the minister breaking it down and explaining the process that had to, the nominees had to go through. So the party people who are not happy, is it that you don't trust your party? Is it the case that you have issues surrounding the choice that was made by these astute men and women in your own party? This was not any external appointment. No, this was done by your party. So why do you have an issue with the person that your party settles on? Is it parochial interest over the national good? Because now, listen, he mentions that there's an NIB report that has to be conducted. Searches on all the people who are presented, the shortlisted candidates. Also, Global Info Analytics had to do an opinion poll on all these people. Then, regionally, your leaders at the regional level had to also have their input into who gets to be the nominee or the MC for your area. And then, nationally, there was another committee that sat on these things. So, look at the process. He says it is a very rigorous and competitive one, only to ensure that the right people are put in charge of the various metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies. And so, what really is the cause for your worry? That your candidates, your choice candidates, who is maybe candidate A, was overlooked for candidate B on other grounds. If you have any questions at all, you should be directing those questions to the people who are in charge of that selection. And so when your party takes a decision, a party that you are a card-bearing member of, and then you support and trust in the leadership of your party, why are you now agitating? Why does it have to become parochial interest instead of the national good? Now, so you can see on your screens the new list of MMDCEs who have been appointed. And so this, for instance, in the Bono East region, we have Techiman South. Ajay Mensah is the nominee for that area. The Bono region, we have the 2. Now, the Upper West region has 11 appointed thus far. Western region, we are seeing 2 on this page. And then, yes, so for the Western region, we also have the list there. Now, the Upper East region has 15 chosen so far. 15. Now, Northern region also has some nominees who have been selected. So, for instance, Western region, we have 14. Central region, we have 13. Okay, we have even more than 13 for the Central region. Now, the Ashanti region, we have only 1. Richard Ofori Ajiman Bwedi. Now, the interesting bit about Richard's nomination is that in the former administration of the NDC, he was the MC for Obuasi. So now he's also been nominated for Kumasi. He's going to be the mayor of Kumasi. That is if the assembly votes and say, you know what, you have our support, go and deliver. Mind you, this is not the end of the process. When the assembly rejects the nomination, now what happens is that President Mahama would have to renominate again. he would have to renominate the candidates if he so believes that this is the man to really turn the fortunes of the assembly. And then the assembly will have to vote on that person again. Now, if the assembly rejects, then perhaps we would have to find another nominee. And so this is not finality to the nomination as it stands. The assembly has the final say to determine. Now, talking about Richard Abuedi for the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, the interesting bit is that there is so much to do. Now, when you listen to the local government minister on SOA, and I entreat you to get that interview, it's on Facebook, it's also on YouTube. He mentioned one thing, that the NDC is seeking to undo the fortunes of the NPP in the Ashanti region, in that even with the completion of the KTR Phase 2 project, they want to do it so much so that the NPP cannot go there to campaign, because then it would be a legacy that the NDC is leaving in that region. Mind you, in the just ended election, you see that the NDC made some inroads in the Ashanti region, but it is too early to say the NDC can be comfortable in the Ashanti region. But so there is a plan to ensure that the fortunes of the Ashanti region are changed. And so it's no surprise that we saw the nomination or the appointment of a very young Ashanti regional minister, a man who is connecting with the youth on different fronts. So far, he's one of the ministers that has been so talked about and very visible, not just because of what has happened in terms of the fire incident, among others, but he is one who has had a lot of conversation surrounding his nomination or his appointment as regional minister for the Ashanti region. We saw his vetting. He demonstrated brilliance at that vetting. And so it clearly tells you that there is a plan by the NDC to also stamp its feet at or in the Ashanti region to be able to make some proper inroads. But the big challenge for the new mayor of Kumasi would be sanitation. Also, the fire incidents in the area, the market challenges that people talk about in the Kumasi enclave. What really will be the plan? It will be interesting to see when the district assemblies do vote or decide on these nominees. But that's where it ends. At the end of it all, it's national interest over parochial interest. So when the party makes a decision, that's the party you support. I'm not saying don't have diverse views, but when the party outlines strategies or outlines mechanisms through which this was arrived at, don't go on the streets agitating. No, don't go on social media screaming. If you have any grievances, go to your party. Ask questions of your party. Now, this social media and then these agitations on the grounds, it really does not change anything. That's it for Inside Out this morning. Well, thank you so much for sticking and staying on with us. And when you see this gentleman who sometimes likes to dress like he's going to appeal someone's case, you know exactly what time it is. Mutala, good morning.
Just Kodjo Mensah.
Yeah, my brother.
How are you doing?
I'm well.
A man with a spicy voice.
The spice, I don't know which kind of spice. But I mean, how was your weekend, my brother?
My weekend was very calm, very cool and quiet. Yeah, very quiet.
Calm, cool, and quiet.
Calm, cool, and quiet. Yeah.
Right. But unfortunately, I mean, we woke up this morning to news of the passing of Sampi Yalley.
Not that also. In the realm of the judiciary, yes. Also we lost one retired judge, Justice Sule Badebe. Yes, at 74. In fact, at the later part of this segment, we'll talk more about that. Absolutely. Sad. Yes. This morning, I'm sharing something with you.
But there's so much to do, and we'll get to know all of that. Absolutely. But it's time to bring you caught today with Mutala Inusa.
So this morning I'm sharing something with you on notary public. In fact, for those who have been traveling, for those who have been going to international transactions, They will understand this particular subject matter that I'm talking about. So over last week, there was a book that was launched.
Okay.
And this book is in relation to dealing with the issue of notary publics in Ghana. And so if people will be asking what is notary public, it is a public officer appointed by the Chief Justice to perform certain functions. And that those functions include witnessing and authenticating documents, verifying identity. So if you want to travel and then they are trying to find out the person who is trying, your identity and all of that. This work is being done by an officer, a public or a notary officer or public officer in that regard. And you also have to administer oath in regard to that, certifying copies of documents and all of that. So in effect, this is a legally authorized person, official, who verifies and authenticates documents, identify identities, I must say, transactions, and providing an added layer of all the issues, establishing credibility and authenticity in relation to all that you want, your international transactions and all of that. And in our country now, Joshua, we do not have such a precedent that will serve as a guide to people who, lawyers, students, and all of that, to be able to use it as a guide. But one lawyer, Daniel Yalley, has come up with a book. And that book, if you see the volume of the book, I tell you, you can use over a year to be able to. And so he launched the book, and in fact, it was the Chief Justice who was expected to launch the book. But she sent somebody, one of the justices of the High Court, to come and perform that particular launch. But the man on your screen now is the author of that particular Notaries Public in Ghana. Let's hear from him.
If the notary or the practitioner would have to practice with competence and with professionalism in terms of conduct, in terms of the practice, in terms of the etiquettes of the profession or the ethics of the profession and the demands of the profession, then a book of this kind will be very imperative. I also thought that for would-be notaries, this book will be a very important material for purposes of orientation, to orient them and to guide them. Who the notary is, what the notary does, how he has to, as it were, practice the profession, and also to provide the legal regime that brings attention to the dangers, to infractions that is inherent in the system of the practice.
So that is lawyer Daniel Yalley, who is the author of this particular book that seems to give a lot of information to lawyers, to students, and all interested parties who will have all the intention, or for those who have been going through, for those who also want to learn more about it. I've had a couple of people ask me, my son is going with my auntie to this city. I want to verify how these processes are done. This book has come at the right time. You can also get a copy and then read and all of it. And guess who was one of the guests at that particular forum?
I can see it for now, but earlier I saw someone, this guy from the NPP also there.
I think there were some notable faces there, yes, of course. Yes, so yes. Professor Kenatifo, in fact, he's he's a notary officer.
Oh.
He has been has taken the oath. He's one of the few people in the system who is mandated by law to perform such functions. So he was there to lend his support to this particular book that was launched. But I've been asking him about how we can go about with notary. So let's hear from Professor Ken Atifo.
The work of a notary public, among others, is to authenticate documents, is to validate claims, and especially for documents going outside the country, to make sure that they are valid, that they meet the highest international standards, they're clean, they have integrity, and they can be trusted. And so when a notary public puts an attestation to the document, it has the validity and is acceptable in international courts and other arena. So it is not about sharpening anything. It is about people just getting to know how best to do the job, and he has provided the procedure, the civil procedure that guides it, and the methodologies and all that a person needs in order to do the work. So if it's about sharpening, then it's about practitioners getting to know how best to do the work, and Mr. Abedu's book provides the path to doing that.
So that is right. Professor Kenneth for giving us insights about notary public. So for those who are asking questions about what this book was all about, Professor Kenneth has given us some insight and all. It's a very interesting area that you want to go. I mentioned about the Chief Justice, Justice Gertrude Saki-Tokono, who delegated Justice Richard Apietu to launch the book. Let's hear from him.
I am persuaded that the book will be relevant and useful in several respects, including 1. Facilitating the enhancement of administration of justice and the rule of law, and hence the advancement and development of the Ghana legal system. We anticipate this through the guidance and assistance the book is expected to offer legal practitioners, notaries, judges, magistrates, registrars, commissioners for oaths, other public officers, statutorily empowered to perform and undertake the functions of the notary, teacher of the law students, conveyancing practitioners, as well as those at the receiving end of notarial services. 2. As a reference tool to assist practitioners to do the needful in delivering efficiently, competently, and professionally notarial services required to promote commerce, business, international trade, transactions, and assured credibility and integrity imperatively required in legal documentation and socioeconomic and legal relations, land transactions, banking, finance, other commercial and trade transactions. 3. To serve as a ready study material for law students and other inquisitive minds seeking to gain insight and understanding of the subject and practice of the notary. 4. The book offers a good opportunity to access easily and readily visas in the development of the notarial practice and profession, the relevant law, judicial pronouncements, and relevant materials impinging upon the notary practice regime. 5. It will serve as a source and a guide in the professional development of law students and practitioners, notably in the areas of property law, conveyancing, wills, probate, and administration, law of evidence, civil procedure, commercial and company law practice, to provide guidance in promoting professional discipline, conduct and ethics, and how to ensure credibility and integrity in the drafting and execution of legal and other documents to render them valid for admissibility. It gives me great pleasure to be associated with the book, Notaries Public Practice in Ghana, the Law, Cases and Materials. The author is commended for the work done and for adding to the growing number of legal treatises on Ghanaian law, cases and materials. His leadership in providing the first comprehensive book on the notary's public practice within our jurisdiction is also to be commended. I look forward to the active use of this book as a reference source and a handbook for many, and to all the anticipated users, this book is unreservedly recommended.
So the book comes in very highly
absolutely recommended. So that is
we should
justice. Absolutely, we should look forward to. So the voice that you just heard is Justice Richard Apietu, a justice of the High Court representing the Chief Justice. So all that he was saying were the exact words from the Chief Justice, and he was going through that. So that is it about this very book.
I'm interested. I'm glad we are done with it, because I couldn't wait for you to get to the next one. You know, last week when I saw the story, I was a bit surprised.
Okay,
not too surprised though. But looking at the lady in question, 22 years.
Yes,
and then human trafficking issues.
Absolutely.
And the interesting bits were her friends who also came to court with her. Talk to me about that.
Absolutely. So as you can see on your screens, Nikki Sabella. Is that her real name? Yes, that's the name that she has based on the charge sheet that was put on, and aka Bella. So it's Isabella, all of that you can reduce it. Becca, and you know that long name, so I can reduce it. So in this case, Nikki Sabella, so she has reduced it to Bella. So as you can see, she came to court in nose marks, and you can see
that's a police officer?
Absolutely, that's the security officers who came to court with her in all of that. So on Friday, in fact, the day on 2nd of April, she was convicted for human trafficking, 3 counts, conspiracy, and 2 substantive counts. And the reason being that she and one other, Clara, who is on the run, trafficking women from Nigeria to Ghana. They lured them into coming to Ghana to come and work in the supermarket. They got here in Ghana and they realized that they
was a human supermarket.
Yes, human supermarket. So they have to venture into prostitution. And even not that alone, they scrape part of their hairs, put them in the bottle, put them somewhere, ask them that when you go and you come back, these are the sales that you are supposed to make, and all of that. The ladies looked at the situation. No, this is not why we came to Ghana. Then they contacted the police. They reported the issues to the police themselves. And their age bracket, 22 and 23. And she is 22 years. So in context, age mates.
Yeah, so her peers from Nigeria.
And but the story that we were told, the kingpin, the mastermind who came to Ghana earlier, I think that she understands the system, so she managed to run away. But this one who also came in also had grounds, and she's now also
she's also Nigerian.
She's also Nigerian. So now they are doing the business. So when we come down here, bring more people. And then the victims reported, so they were the complainants in the matter. And the police went there, and then they arrested her. The other old lady has run away. And she was charged, brought to court, 3 counts, conspiracy of human trafficking, and 2 counts of human trafficking. At the end, the court established, or prosecution was able to prove its case, and then she was found guilty. And then she was sentenced after a pregnancy test was conducted, and that is a requirement for a woman who has been convicted, just so the court will be certain that this person that we are punishing, we are giving the custodial sentence, is not a pregnant woman. So all those initial issues were there with, but justice, in fact, her Anna, Mrs. Kusia Nochua Ejepo. But let's have a feel of what happened moments after she was convicted and sentenced.
You arrested me, I'm innocent. You arrested me, I'm innocent.
So Nikki is in tears. She says she's innocent.
So you know one thing. Yes, one thing about the law is that once you are convicted, before you are sentenced, the court asks you for your mitigation plea. Say something to lessen or to reduce the punishment. And her point is that I am innocent. At that particular point in time, it is not the point that you are going to say I'm innocent. You have been found guilty and you are going to be punished. So when you say you are innocent, then you are insisting that, yes, you have done nothing wrong. And that is even dangerous. But I think the judge, looking at other instances, was charitable with this particular sentence. But the last time that I covered in September that we showed it here, she had 8 years. The court made an order that moment after she's done sentence, she should be deported. In her case, there was no such order. So maybe after she can stay in Ghana. But one thing that the judge said that was very striking is that the Ghanaian security agency should liaise with the Nigerian counterpart and get the lady who is on the run, Clara, and possibly forge some teamwork, togetherness to be able to reduce or eliminate this human trafficking thing that is happening. But there was a witness. We were told that he's the boyfriend of Nikki Sabella, but he tells me that he's a friend of Sabella. Let's hear from him saying that her friend or his friend has done nothing wrong.
You have to get the law enforcement agency before they were able to.
She's innocent. She don't know anything about that thing. It's the same woman that sponsored those girls. It's the same woman that sponsored her too. I'm the one that said I will pay for her transport. But last year, July, I lost my dad, so I didn't do anything. I have to go back to a village. When I come back, that's when I hear that the case is already in the court. And I'm the one that do witness for her, do testify for her. Because I know her very well. She's innocent. So I will fight for her.
Innocent because she's not a prostitute.
She's not the person, yeah. And she's not
a prostitute?
She's not a prostitute.
And she doesn't also involve in human trafficking?
Yes.
She doesn't bring girls from Nigeria?
Yes, she's ever done it before.
Prostitution?
Yes.
You can vouch for that?
Yes, I can swear for that.
Yes.
The guy says he can vouch.
Have you got a friend who can stand by you in this situation? The guy said, I can swear for that. And indeed, he was in the witness box. He swore an oath and testified as a defense witness for her. Unfortunately, their testimony or their evidence was not accepted.
Right.
And so,
I mean, with cases in court, evidence is the game.
Absolutely.
So once you have the evidence to substantiate the claims, you're good to go.
Absolutely.
But if you do not have it, it's not about what you say.
You'll be hot. Yes. Sometimes you end up saying a lot of things. All of them are emotional sentiment and all of that. And those things do not play roles in court. It's about evidence. So you see people come to court and they start to cry. The court will tell you that, yeah, those are a dangerous situation. But you heard the point that he expressed. Then there was the Nigerian diaspora and the representative who said, look, all that you are saying, you are ignorant about it. If you knew what has really happened, you wouldn't have been here saying it. Let's hear that educational.
You have to get the law enforcement agency before they were able to release these two girls. That was what happened. You were not there. You are basing what you're saying based on what she has told you. And where she was is at ability. And that is where they were doing prostitution. And once they were there were more than 40 something of them in the same building. And she admitted in writing that this is what she does in Ghana, that she's doing prostitution. She also admitted that the money that the girl gets from prostitution, that she's the one that takes it to keep for herself and whoever person that she claimed that is her partner. So you cannot come and accuse the law enforcement agency and the court as if they have convicted an innocent person who did nothing. That cannot be right. What we should be doing as citizens is to use this as a deterrent to others, to tell them to trafficking our girls to this place that is not nice. Because I can see the way you're speaking. You're speaking because you felt bad that in Nigeria can be punished. The same way we wouldn't want her to be punished, let us also collaborate together and make sure they don't punish our own citizens here too. That is why I decided to speak to you, because I know you are speaking ignorantly because you are not part of even the time the girl were rescued. That is exactly why I decided to talk to you.
So that is absolutely. So the guy spoke and they said, no, what you have said it's absolutely not true. Listen to what really ignorantly. Absolutely listen to. And what is so good about the situation is a moment after the man took the gentleman along with him and said, let me go and school you. Let me carry you along. Let's find a way to come together and fight menace like this or situations like this and all of that. But of course, that is not all. The DSP Williams Ayariga, who is the director of anti-human trafficking in Ghana, also has a message, and let's hear from him.
I know it is there, but we are also doing our best, fighting, arresting them, prosecuting if there's evidence. Don't forget, last year, the anti-human trafficking unit alone, we had about 9 convictions
And you'll be surprised that one of them had 20 years, unprecedented since the promulgation of Human Trafficking Act 694. Last year, one person was convicted for 20 years. And I'm telling you, we are sending out a clear message that crime, whether human trafficking, migrant smuggling, or any other crime for that matter, will not be countenance in the country and will not relent in our efforts until all perpetrators of the heinous crime are brought to book.
Well, so Mutala, clearly, a lot has been happening with that.
Yes.
But what's ahead for us?
So today we are looking at capacity building.
Okay.
Yes, capacity building. We call the Office of the Attorney General, and as you can see on your screens, state attorneys, to be precise, are going through some training, and this training will focus on rules of the ECOWAS courts, practice, and then procedure for all state attorneys. And in fact, for those who have had the opportunity, and I'm fortunate to have had the opportunity to sit through the ECOWAS community court proceedings, and there were some elements that are much different from what we do have here. What we do have here. And so when you have the opportunity to sit through and all of that, it's very amazing and all of that. So state attorneys who have the opportunity, state attorneys from the Office of the Attorney General will be going through training. In fact, it's a 4-day from today to Thursday. And there will be an opening ceremony. We'll be there to see what will happen tomorrow. We'll show the Supreme Court. And after serving over 31 years, 4 years down the line, we've been told that his pastor was 74. He died on Saturday. So that's a very sad one. In fact, moment like this, in fact, if there's one thing that I pick from this noble man, is time. Most often than not, when you go to the Supreme Court and parties are arguing their cases, Joshua, one thing that you should expect from Justice Sulik Badegbe is that you have to be on time. You will not even go beyond the time 1 second. You start, then he times you. So at the point he became the timekeeper at the Supreme Court. I remember many times where his name was mentioned. My brother on my right is the timekeeper, and immediately your time elapsed. He tells you that you have, in fact, he will remind you that you have 30 seconds, 1 minute more, and all of that. And he has so much great memories, wise counsel, and all of that. It's rather sad that we are losing such a man that has had a lot for the judicial service.
You look at him with so much admiration.
Yes, it was moment after. In fact, when you sit from distance, we didn't know that he was such a very nice person.
Right.
You don't want to, but when he bowed and had the opportunity to interact with him and realize that the man has got a lot of, there's also the human part of him that you always admire. And I remember taking this picture, I was full of smiling and all of that. It's rather sad that I'm sharing this picture today, that Justice Sulik Badegbe is no more. So at the Supreme Court, you retire at 70, and then he retired 4 years after he's no more. May his gentle soul rest in perfect peace and all of that. Absolutely. And just before I go, today is the birthday of the man that gave me ground in journalism.
Oh.
Yeah, the man that gave me opportunity to practice journalism or journalism in Ghana, to start my media career. Editor, AC Ohene. You know AC Ohene. The renowned AC Ohene. Today is his birthday. Accra, happy birthday to you. Long life and enjoy your day.
And we'll do it also for the birthday segment. But Mutala, thank you so much. And that's our wrap-up call today for this morning. With courts, but let's see what the newspapers are reporting this morning. All right, so the Daily Graphic this morning says fake gold currency bust, BOG money boxes found at crime scene. That's according to National Security. The story is there on the front page of the Daily Graphic. There's also President nominates 81 for second batch MMDCEs. And then protect telecom infrastructure to enhance network quality. And let's focus on TVET to address unemployment That's the executive chairman of the McDan Group saying that on the front page of the Daily Graphic. The Daily Guide is next. It says, Zoom Lion land guards destroy Turkish investors' property, and allegations about Bawumia Haftel ECG payments. What we know so far, government meets U.S. envoy over 10% tariff. And I've seen some headlines that suggest that government has, or the foreign minister has summoned the U.S. ambassador. Well, that's not what it is. Government is meeting the U.S. Envoy over that 10% tariff. And senior high school student shoots colleague with pistol. Oh, quite sad. On the front page of the Daily Guide this morning. The Ghanaian Times has a story of the missing ECG container. It says security agencies recover cables at scrap dealer's site. So containers for the ECG from Tema Port ends up at a scrap dealer site. Sad. CKT Utah's Medical School in Navrongo in the orphan. Pregnant woman shot dead at Zabzugu, and president nominates 81 more MMDCEs. The Daily Dispatch this morning says Speaker releases 2 MPs to national security for investigations. And we're talking about Kwame Asare being A+, and then Vincent Asifua, the former sports minister, released for investigations. And government to regulate excavator imports to combat illegal mining. That's according to the Lands and Natural Resources Minister, Ama Kofi Boa, on the front page there. And then when Bawumia met Kennedy Japan, that's also on the front page of the Daily Dispatch. The custodian is next, says CDM demands non-partisan probe on narcotics aircraft. Also, cocaine scandal rocks Mahama's government. And Tim Kodjo pledges full expose, slams fake messages on his file, and rejects petitions for removal of EC chair and deputies. That's according to CDS. That's from the CDS to the president. And then Kusal youth chase Mahama over worsening Boko conflict. And insider story coming up, true state capture by the Mahama family. That's the custodian reporting this morning. The Chronicle says MPP followers should not despair. That's according to Osahin Alexander Kwamina Apenyo Markin. And alleged cocaine at Kotoka International Airport. Osafo Tanda will be arrested if he fails to cooperate with the NIB. That's according to the Minister of State for Government Communications, Kwache Ofosu. And 693 coins missing from GRA tax default list. And Nene Jangba, the 12th, is New Royal Majesty for Ningo traditional area. And then the scripture for this morning is Matthew chapter 12, the verse number 35. I tell you, on the day of judgment, people will give account for every careless word they speak. And that's the word of God this morning. Let the church say amen. Now, the Daily Statesman says government under pressure over cocaine saga. Has a picture of Felix Kwachofosu and then Reverend John in Team Kodjo. There's also minority leader rallies MPP for 2028 comeback. And SHS student pulls gun on campus and let's protect cocoa sector. That's according to Cocoa Board boss Dr. Randy Abe. Now, the Daily Searchlight this morning says agenda against Ridge Hospital director exposed. There's also continue providing healthcare services to NHIS cardholders. That's according to the association. And Christian Lee appointed managing director of Vivo Energy Ghana. That's on the front page of the Daily Searchlight this morning. The Informer says 2 aircraft and drug saga. Security Dawn calls for circumspection. There's also danger. Private health facilities cancel NHIS services. Well, we are told that upon engagement with the NHIS, they've decided to reverse that decision. Bawumia urges NPP unity, applauds mighty minority for keeping government on toes, and Yoko probes rot at TDC. MD warns against pleas, and Talency NDC in turmoil over nomination of alleged Galamsey DCE. The Daily Post this morning, scenario blasts in team for trying to injure the image of Ghana. And it says also that Reverend Tim Kodjo must be arrested to substantiate claims. That's according to Sami Jemfi, who is the CEO for the PMMC, also good board boss. Now, payments have commenced for NHIS arrears. that's the National Health Insurance Authority, to the Private Health Facilities Association of Ghana. And Minister of Health inaugurates NSOP 2025 to 2029 Steering Committee. Let's do the Ghanaian publisher now. Suspicious fly saga. NPP tightens noose on Mahama. CSOs, others demand full disclosure. There's also We Will Rise Again. That's according to Osahin Apenyo-Markin as he rallies party faithful. And then 7 sparks feed over 400 street children in Ghana. So 7 sparks, they feed over 400 street children in Ghana, in Accra rather. And dirty agenda against rich medical director exposed. CDS urges Mahama to reject petitions against EC chair. That's for the Ghanaian publisher this morning. Well, so those are the newspaper headlines for this morning. You're still watching GH Today here on GH1 television, and we'll return with the breakfast review segment. Stay with us.
GH1 OB van has been one of the best vans I've used personally in this country. It runs a system where we are able to run on Dante to be able to do our broadcast mixed well also from this van.
I've used this OB van for quite a number of big productions, i.e. 3 music awards, the late President Rollis' state funeral, Miss Africa Awards, and a number of them.
My experience with the GH1 van has been the state of the art equipment they have. Personal experience is you can use it for both indoor and outdoor, all events, conferencing, like anything you need a van to work for you, GH1 provides it.
My experience with the van has been very good. Why? Because it has a number of facilities that I may not get in other vans. You know, the van has a very wide bench that can accommodate all my technical crew, ICC, switcher, graphics, CG, and all of that. And then it also has a studio, a green room studio that comes with TriCaster. So if you want somebody to do commentary on a live event, you can put that presenter who's in that studio as well and get that running.
To give an experience to our audience, we're also watching on TVs and online. Work with an Exo technology system, which makes your video mixing with Panasonic cameras, like a lot of other stuff in terms of content you need to get also for your live broadcasts.
I prefer the GH1 van to a lot of other vans I've used, or even doing my own setup on a tabletop setup, because on a production you see a number of people in the van, and so if you have a very small van, it means that it's going to be choked, and that will affect the creativity as well. The price has been discounted as well to accommodate varied budgets, and so no matter the budget you have, I understand you can have the truck and do business with it.
It looks huge but very affordable. Cost is really affordable. My experience with it, EMI Awards last year, super excellent. Try it, call them, and I'm going to give you the best of price. Really affordable.
Well, thank you so much for joining us here on GH Today on GH1 Television. It's time to get into the conversations for the morning. My guests are seated, and so let's just delve deep now into the breakfast review segment. This morning, I can confidently say that I am the odd one out because my guests are all fine legal brains who have joined me to have a conversation on raging national issues. I have Kwesi Kwarteng to my immediate left. He is a private legal practitioner. He's also a member of the New Patriotic Party's communications team. Kwesi, how are you?
Hey, I'm fine. How are you? And I'm also the odd one out. He is wearing in-government shoe.
But that makes two of us, because I'm not in government.
You are his friend. Manufactured in 2020. Look at the suit. I know he used to dress well, but now the upgrade is so substantial that we need to.
Their party is resetting, so clearly there should be a reset in all aspects.
In all aspects, exactly. I understand. It's understandable.
But how have you been?
The producer actually showing my shoes. But you see, that is Josh. You say good morning.
Yes, to you. That's Hamza Sweeney. He's also a legal person and also within NDC Communications.
I think they should even capture your watch. It's important.
Good morning to you.
When in government.
Good morning to you and our cherished viewers, and of course to my brother in the studio. But you see, that has always been the stock in trade of the NPP. Fortunately, I'm not an appointee of the government, and those who know me know that when it comes to dressing, I have never been found wanting.
You never get caught.
Unfortunately, had to take my brother in opposition to appreciate, or perhaps to have a second look at me. But I think that my dressing has always been top notch. I do not take that for granted, and I learned that strongly from my late dad. May he so rest in peace. Irrespective of what I'm going through, either economic or moral challenges, even if I'm low in spirit, one thing I don't joke with has to do with my appearance.
Communicators will be communicators
when it comes to you. So that's me. That's me. Unfortunately, I'm also part of a profession that prides itself in dressing in a way that is more or less appealing and dignifying of that particular profession. I'm a lawyer, and he knows better. Well, the last time I saw him, the car he was driving and the shoe that he was wearing, I had cause to comment about it because, but that is it.
I'm an ordinary citizen driving.
He's gradually going on retirement. He's been out for less than 3 months ago. I'm sure that if you go and look at his account, and I open my accounts to you, you pity me.
It's okay. I started. You let's proceed.
You see the flame.
I was the one who brought it. You let's proceed. Well, let's proceed.
But he was being paid.
If we don't want to
not being paid.
Right. It's good to have you gentlemen.
Yes.
And there's so much to talk about. But I want us to start with the news of the passing on of Ambassador Sampi Yalley. He's one person who, like I said earlier, used to be a part of this show. He would come to them. There are times that I would pose questions to him, and then he would relax for like 3 seconds and say, Joshua, I said, this MPP government. And then when he goes on and on, you realize that he speaks with so much passion. We are told that he's actually passed on. And I'm sure that for the NDC fraternity, this is a big blow to you. Hamza.
Yes, Josh, my deepest condolences to the family of our senior colleague, a committed soldier of the National Democratic Congress, and most importantly, a loyal servant of the democratic process of this country. Ambassador P. Yalley, I think that for those of us who are politically active, we know the role he has played when it comes to the democracy of this country. I started listening to him when I was in the University of Ghana. I think on another sister station, Alaji, and I was always moved by the depth of his presentations, and to a very large extent, the sometimes non-partisan nature of his submissions. He always privileged national interest beyond any sectorial interest. And so it is not just a great loss to the NDC fraternity and to his family, but it is also a great loss to the Republic of Ghana and many of our young people out there who probably aspire to contribute their quota to national development would have also lost a mentor and an inspiration, and when it comes to political commentary for that matter. And so for me this morning is just to wish the family well and to let them understand that many of us, especially those of us who are Muslims, we say that it is God who gives and it is God who takes. Our only prayer is that may he be received well in the hereafter. Many of us, in fact, all of us will be joining him at the right time, but we pray that we are able to accomplish either what he has or beyond more than he has accomplished before joining him.
Right.
So clearly, it is a huge loss to the National Democratic Congress, and one cannot help but sympathize more with the family, express our condolences, and I'm sure that in due time the National Democratic Congress will come out as an entity to engage the family, and the government will also do the needful in terms of engagement with the family. But it is a painful loss, but you simply cannot question the ways of the Most High. So we just accept it in our stripes and pray that God gives them the patience to endure the loss as far as the family is concerned.
Well, definitely. And from the videos that you see on our screens, in that particular conversation on that day, Kwesi, you were also here with him.
Yeah. Well, let me also say that I wish, even though not only the family, but even ourselves, all of us, because he happens to be a friend, a father, an advisor to all of us. I wish all of us condolence, and of course, the greater condolence is extended to his family. A lot of times when we sit here, people may think that we just come and sit on TV and argue, and some way, somehow, we don't even have relationships. Ambassador is one person in NDC that I have a very strong relationship with. Indeed, throughout this my communication journey, where I always come and sit on TV, as soon as you make any comment that extends or go beyond a certain boundary, as soon as you check your phone, the next message you see is from Ambassador. And I'm just glancing through. Kwesi, did you really go and say this? Kwesi, I heard you said this. Kwesi, have you done this? Kwesi, toned down on this. So we had a great relationship, and of course, I mean, he is partisan. He has his own persuasions to the NDC. But beyond that, you realize that he also has the interest of the nation at heart.
Right.
And for somebody like Ambassador and the relationship that I had with him, I can confirm and say that he's someone who had the interest of my growth so far as this political dispensation is concerned, and always put you to straight check. And there were, even when this NDC government came into power, in moments where I needed some facilitations or I needed somebody to help me talk to any person, in many cases, it was my first point of contact or my first point of call. So I was very surprised to hear that. But of course, I mean, the Bible says that we should just number our days. The Bible teaches us to number our days that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom. So death is inevitable. Yeah. But when matters like this come, we all come together in one accord, support the family. And Ambassador's death or demise is not only something that is only reserved for, let's say, the NDC. It's a sorrow for the entire nation. And all of us, I'm sure, at the right time, we're all going to support the family and make sure that we lay him to a very befitting and proper rest. But for now, we pray that he rests in peace.
Definitely. And one of the key things that he was looking forward to was to see a return of the NDC to power. And so you realize that in the lead up to the elections was very vocal, very forceful in his push. So I'm sure that, I mean, I can't tell what happens after this, but I know that clearly Ambassador should be a happy man to see that at least his power has won the election and won with the margin which they did. And our condolences to the family, and we wish them well. May the good Lord comfort them and also be able to strengthen them in this time. You see, regardless of how old a person is, when a person passes on, there's a gap that the family feels, and so we are praying for strength for the family in these times. But away from that, this weekend has been quite dramatic for the lack of a better word, between two members of parliament on both sides, the NPP and NDC. So Reverend John Kodjo and then Felix Kwakye Ofosu. I remember, Hamza, the last time you were here, we had a conversation. Reverend John Kodjo joined via phone. We talked about the allegations. And for some of us, we thought, okay, well, that would have been the end. But it looks like it still rages on. Now, the NPP is accusing government of intimidating Reverend John Kodjo with the way things are going.
I am not surprised by the Patriotic Party. You see, we are dealing with a party, we are dealing with a government that just came into office barely 3 months ago. And at the back of the last election, the NDC government, led by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, made certain promises to the good people of this country. Pivotal to those promises had to do with an agenda to reset the economy of this country, to ensure accountability, and most importantly, to expand the frontiers of transparency when it comes to governance in our country. Again, in fulfillment to those promises that were made, I'm sure last week you saw His Excellency President Mahama signed into law the review of the emissions levy, the mobile, what we call the e-levy, electronic transactions levy, and a host of other, including the betting tax as well, intended to bring some relief to the good people of this country. Quite apart from that, His Excellency President Mahama made a commitment to reducing the size of government, which clearly he has shown commitment to. At the back of that was another issue of accountability. President Mahama is clearly committed to the principles of accountability. That is why we heard the Attorney General organized press conferences to update the good people of this country as to the state of investigations that have been conducted. So if you have a government that is doing so much within this short period of time, it is therefore not surprising that the opposition parties seem to be panicking about the steps of this government. Because clearly, these steps I have just enumerated will, if care is not taken, annihilate the political ambitions of the New Patriotic Party.
You think the NPP is panicking?
Absolutely. So it must be the strategy of every political power in party in opposition to begin to think of ways to divert the attention of the Ghanaian people away from the gains being made daily by this government. So if you look at the conduct of John Kodjo and that of the New Patriotic Party, you simply cannot resist the conclusion that these are guys gasping for breath, seeking an opportunity to still continue to be politically relevant. It has absolutely nothing to do with the national interest and the aspirations of the Ghanaian people. Indeed, the NPP, if you look at the Fourth Republic, if there is any political party known for its obsession with cocaine trade, it is the New Patriotic Party.
How do you say that?
I will justify that. Never have we had a situation where an MDC sitting member of parliament was arrested or has been arrested outside the shores of this country for cocaine trade. This happened under an NPP administration. Remember Eric Amwaten? A sitting member of parliament on the ticket of the New Patriotic Party was busted outside the shores of this country for engaging in corruption and in cocaine trade. It is under the watch of the New Patriotic Party that a vessel, MV Benjamin, if you remember, loaded with about 77 parcels of cocaine, got missing under national security surveillance. This happened under the NPP. You remember the story of Sheriff the Lincoln man and the regional vice chairman of the New Patriotic Party, who was also stationed at the Ghana Airports Company, had to be interdicted And even before that, he was chairman for Medina constituency. He had to be interdicted for as a result of his links to cocaine that was transported using Ghana Airports Limited to United Kingdom. So subsequently,
how does all of this relate to what is going on?
All what I'm telling you is that if you look at what is going on, the MPP is simply struggling to shed off what it is known for and put that tag on the National Democratic Congress. And that is not going to stick. When it comes to cocaine and money laundering, this country knows the political party that is neck deep in it. It has never been the stock in trade of the National Democratic Congress and will never be. But you see, if you are interested in achieving political relevance, there's the way it must be done, not irresponsibly like we are seeing. I am sure that the likes of Ntim Kodjo have had cause to go attack the New Patriotic Party as an institution. That is why they have decided to pretend to be in support of his agenda. Because we are in touch with many of them, especially the level-headed ones. Those who are not associated with the Kufuor and Nanado Baumia legacy. They will tell you that his conduct is embarrassing and an insult to the intelligence of the good people of this country. You have made allegations. The government has responded to your allegations. And the presidency has directed a collaboration among state agencies and you. You decided to renege on that directive and sought to vary the directive of the president. And on this very chair, I've had cause to question his authority when it comes to presidential directives. The president has given a directive. Whether you are a member of the New Patriotic Party or not, you must comply with that directive. You don't seek to vary that directive using parliament. Today you have been caught pants down and you have been asked to provide evidence and you are running away. If you listen to him very well.
He says he's not running away.
He is running away because you see, the government has shown pictorial evidence as well as video evidence of what transpired. You claim, based on the statement you read to the good people of this country, that you have reliable intel. And Joshua, the key word here is reliable. That it had to do with drug. In fact, reliable intelligence. Now the government has provided its intelligence. What prevents you from making public your counterintelligence, even if you are not willing to cooperate?
But is that the way to go? Because the directive was for the security agencies, the four that the president mentioned, to have a conversation with Ntim Kodjo, collaborate, and then come out. So now one thing that I've heard is that why do we have Felix now being the one to communicate to us what has been discovered?
Absolutely. Felix is the minister responsible for information and government communications. Parliament vetted him. He was part of the team, his side of the house. They were part of the team that vetted Felix Ofosu-Akotchum. So clearly, if they had issues with minister responsible for government communications, I'm sure the MPP would have raised it there. But they didn't raise it because they acknowledge that when it comes to communications bordering on state, it is the responsibility of Felix Ofosu-Akotchum to communicate same. So if the intelligence agencies have had cause to reach out to you, Ntim Kodjo, which you have failed to honor, you do not expect the security agencies to come out and communicate to us. The government, the minister responsible for government communications will do that. Unless, of course, they can prove to us that it doesn't fall, or I should use the word, maybe it is not part of the responsibilities of minister responsible for government communication. They are not able to tell us that. So what Felix is doing is clearly in tandem with the law. He's the minister responsible for government communications. And the same gentleman who signed the NPP press conference, their director of communication, their press statement, their director of communications. I was on another sister platform with him.
Richard Ayangba.
Absolutely. And he seemed to have a better understanding of how our security agencies work as far as investigations are concerned. And he made it clear that over the years, it has to take government to take charge of their communications. And for him, he was making a recommendation at the time that we had gotten to a stage where these agencies needed to have their own PR departments. We are not there yet. The National Security doesn't have a PR department. National Intelligence Bureau, it doesn't have a PR department. Their communications are handled by government.
Okay.
So what issues do you have with the minister responsible for government communication making known the processes that are taking place as far as the presidential directive is concerned?
Okay.
In any case, that directive was given by His Excellency the President. So what prevents the minister responsible for government communications and the presidential spokesperson from keeping us abreast with activities that have so far been undertaken by these intelligence agencies? You see, Josh, I think that the country has to move on. We are wasting precious time on the irresponsibility of Kodjo. And as a country, we must not be seen entertaining this. We must move on and allow the security agencies to do their job. And when I say allow the security agencies to do their job, what I expect before the close of day, because my understanding is that Parliament is on recess.
Yes.
Before the close of day, I expect the MP to be picked up. Because we have gone past the stage of collaboration. He has clearly shown an intention not to collaborate with our security
But Hamza,
agencies.
you were here when I interviewed him and he mentioned that today being Monday, he's ready to have a conversation with the security agencies if they are minded to do so.
But they invited him. So their doors are opened. But I'm telling you that in case he fails to take advantage of that invitation, the security agencies before close of day today must act using as basis the laws of this country. Because if you look at our criminal code, spreading false information is a criminal offense. And so I expect to see them acting. And if you look at the National Intelligence Bureau Act, they are mandated to now move from collaboration to investigation, and the Act empowers them to ensure an arrest of the said gentleman.
He's an MP. He has immunities.
What immunities? The immunities are clearly defined by law. If he is going to Parliament or on his way from Parliament, Parliament is on recess. He can be picked up any time of the night, anywhere. So the security agencies must better act, because we cannot have a situation where characters who are not qualified to be addressed as honorable, but largely because of the poor political nature systems that we run in this country. If you look at the conduct of the political parties, all these characters find their way into Parliament.
The people of Assin South will not be happy with you because they voted for him.
I'm sure they are disappointed themselves.
You think so?
Absolutely.
Okay. Let me come to you, Kwesi. So now the claim from the NDC is that you're trying to take off your cloak as a party and then put it on them, and that's what you're doing. Is that the case?
I was just watching Hamza as he speak. For me, I'm not interested in the equalizations. I'm not, because you see, let's be reasonable here. If we are being reasonable, crime has no colors. What is in contention has to do with the deliberate attempt by the state to conceal information. That is what is questionable here, and that is where the problem lies. I mean, it doesn't matter. So far as NDC is in power does not mean that even an NPP person cannot commit a crime, whether narcotics or any other offense. And of course, if you make references, even it was NPP who was in power, where if you remember the Heavy Benjamin case, Mr. Kofi Boache was the one that was spearheading it. And the committee that investigated apparently even made some recommendation that people like him should be prosecuted. Today, he is serving President Mohammed's administration. So if you want to talk about and politicize crime and may give coloration, I mean, we can go there, but I'm not interested in that. But the principle that I want to advance is that, you see, we are not dealing with robots. We are dealing with human beings. Human beings are not mechanical creations. They are people who can reason, who can think, who can commit a crime. So when there are allegations, or when people give information, or when people have suspicions that a crime has been committed and they lay it out, they are just exercising their civic duty. What is so much about this name calling and somebody has done this and people are disappointed? Is it really necessary? You should be providing that with answers and details. It is important for us to distinguish between somebody giving out, or a citizen or a person in performance of a civic responsibility, giving us an information or an intelligence based on some form of suspicions of an imminent crime or potential crime that is about to be committed or might have been committed in the first place. You see, as soon as this thing comes, the natural expectation is that if you're a state, it's just a feedback for you to take it in good faith, investigate same, and then come out with more disclosures. But that's all that this government is doing. As I come as a citizen to provide my civic responsibility or give a civic account on the potential crime, the state's posture has been dismissive, in most instances, not only dismissive, but even trying to divert attention. Just yesterday, Jakwa and his team, National Security, again went to Baobe's ADC's house. Again, we understand how the geopolitical space works in the media. Quickly get a news story, let's divert attention, and we'll stop discussing the cocaine. Interestingly, and thanks be to God and media people like your media house and other media houses, today all the print media houses have carried the story. Mohammed's administration is now involved in cocaine saga. We need to find out. You cannot tell us that people cannot ask questions. You cannot tell us. A person, including a member of parliament, has a civic duty to bring to the attention of the state some of these things going on. And it is important to also understand that when you are performing some of these civic duties, a lot of times the evidence that or the information that you may pick may be circumstantial, out of circumstantial evidence. You may have to connect the dots. A lot of times it will just be based on intelligence. It may just be on suspicions. Let me state on record that when these claims or complaints are made, it is not the duty of whoever is making the claim that is being made. You look at the circumstances of all the issues that is going on, then you ask yourself, is it logically consistent with all the facts that is being presented to us? The second, you look at what you call empirical verifiability. Are we able to verify some of the claims that have been made? And then the last one, you talk about what you call experiential relevance. One, let me even look at the claim of empirical verifiability. Recall that as part of the reasons that Felix gave for the plane, one of the planes landing in Ghana was that if you go to Luanda, where the plane was originally supposed to have landed, they were supposed to have what you call RA3 scanning certification procedure before they are allowed to, planes or cargo of such nature are allowed to land there. And for that matter, Luanda did not have it. Was so the more reason why the guys came to land here. But you can do it. You are, a media person. Just pick your phone and go to Google and just ask the status of RA3 certification in Luanda. I did it. And this is the results, that the air cargo terminal at the Luanda airport, Angola, has obtained the RA3 certification. And they obtained it as far back December 2023. And this is the government spokesperson, government communication spokesperson, telling us that, well, when it comes to RA3 certification, they didn't have it. And for that matter, the plane needed to have landed here. So clearly, another inconsistency, another unfactual truth that has been told us. Again, is it just a mere coincidence that the government came into power less than 90 days, there has been 3 different issues or cases of cocaine? We remember the Sapema one. The Sapema one, where they said about 12 containers, gold bars of 12, involving $12 bills. Interestingly, they said they are all fake. Granted, without even admitting that they are all fake. How come the Bank of Ghana boxes also got there? Are they also fake? The government needs to explain to us. Where is that cocaine that they say they've busted? Interestingly, from there they moved to one, they said it was valued around $2.1 million. And the biggest one is about $350 million. $350 million, if they want to place it in kilogram terms, that's about 3,300 kilograms. 3,300 kilograms, if you want to, for nominal value and for nominal understanding, if you want the ordinary Ghanaian to understand, that's about 66 bags of cement. And 66 bags of cement, you think moved through where? That the state officials, nobody was able to say it, nobody was able to intercept, and all of a sudden it moved through all our borders, whether by, of course, reasonably. Such volumes of cocaine definitely cannot be transported via air. It can only be transported through our water system, our water bodies. And all of this thing got into the country to the extent that NIB had to intercept it at where? At Cape Coast. And you see, you are asked for those pictures. They want to take some pictures with a plane which has a bus tie, right? Granted, without even assuming that that is true. Initially, what you guys, all media, reported, including what even Felix confirmed, if you look at the plane number, just supposing that with what he has posted, they are not even the same. So these leave some level of doubt. It cannot just be mere coincidence that the government came in less than 90 days, 3 issues of cocaine, valuing over, the cumulative effect, at least you even less maintain the $350 million. It cannot just be mere coincidence. And you are telling us that we do not have the right to ask questions. I am saying that instead of the name calling, instead of the insults, instead of the attacks, instead of the maligning personalities and attacking personalities, they should invest that time to investigate him.
What's the state of collaboration between Reverend John Tim Kodjo and the security services?
I think in Tim Kodjo, initially, let me even say that, if you recall, Felix also came to even made a false admission or accusation that Tim Kodjo is refusing to cooperate with state institutions, and for that matter, he declined an invitation. As at now, Felix has not been able to provide any letter of invitation to Tim Kodjo. So even on that basis, it was also unfactual. It was not true. I mean, somebody who has voluntarily come out to provide information to the state, why do we think that reasonably he may not be willing to work with the state? But the dismissive nature of Felix Ofosu-Kwakye, the dismissive nature of this government, and how they are trying to introduce some new diversionary tactics makes room for more suspicion. And it is a more, you see, granted that even Felix Kodjo does not even know what he's saying. What about the UN Department of Crime? They are also calling for investigation. So it is not only a matter of the it's not only a case that only the MPP is interested in this investigation. We need to sanitize the system. We need to make a clear case that, well, Ghana as a country cannot be used as a transit point. Are you saying the NDC is not interested in investigations? Because when you look at the statement issued by the president, he wants investigations. And even the majority leader has also said that investigations into the other cases that Reverend John Tim Kodjo talked about, in terms of the gold bust and other, in the coming days we'll get updates on those. So isn't that enough commitment from the government side to investigate these matters? So the government on one side says a different thing. In terms of their act, also in terms of their conduct, also undertakes also a different act. If we look at the government's posture, clearly they are so much interested in concealing every information so far as this cocaine saga is concerned. The government is not interested in opening up.
How so?
It's very clear.
With all that we've seen, Felix put out there.
Put out what?
Mind you, in terms of the tire burst and other things, I personally wrote to Ahmed to also inquire why their planes were here. They also mentioned the same tire burst issue in that statement, even before Felix put out the video. And we showed it here last week on this network. They also talked about the fact that they had to make other stops even before getting to Ghana in terms of maintenance and fuel and all of those things. So
are you suggesting that if Ahmed was used to carry out that illegal act, they were going to volunteer information to tell you that they came to carry cocaine? Is that the logic? Clearly no. It is the more reason why we need the relevant state institutions and relevant personalities and relevant experts
to prove. If that's the case and Tim Kodjo has evidence to the contrary, why is it not making that available to us or to the security services?
I think I made my point very clear. That you see, even in law, in criminal prosecutions, you call something a burden of proof. That he who alleges must prove.
Right.
But I'm saying that within these particular circumstances and context, that principle will not apply here.
Why?
It doesn't apply here because this is not an allegation where, for instance, a charge has been pressed. Within this context, an MP or a citizen or a person has volunteered information on grounds of suspicion, on grounds of intelligence that the person has paid.
But this is not information. Hold on. This is very grave allegations that he organized a press conference to tell us. So if you are telling us that, okay, this is what you're suspecting, why don't you put it out there? So that we can say, oh, this MP has done a yeoman's job. We need to commend this MP because he said this X, Y, and Z, and he has A, B, and C to prove it.
You see, that's what I'm saying, that if you had allowed me to land, we need to distinguish matters like this from the usual and former criminal prosecutions where the burden of proof lies on you. You are making it look as though the cocaine business is like somebody selling kinky. Let me give you a scenario. If I work here, right, and you suspect that I have illegal substances on me or a gun on me, and you report to the police, doesn't your civic responsibility end there? Are you suggesting that you should put me down, take pictures of the suspected gun that probably is not registered, or those illicit drugs, and then go and give to the police? That would be completely unreasonable. What is reasonable is that based on your suspicion and the intelligence that you've gathered, that Kwesi Kwarteng might have as well come into this studio with an unregistered arm, obviously with the intention to commit a crime, you have to alert the police. It is now the duty of the police as the relevant state institution, clothed with the mandate and the powers and the resources to now investigate the claims that you've laid, that based on what I said or based on what I suspect, Kwesi Kwarteng might have indeed carried those substances or those illegal accoutrements. And for that reason, the state would then use that after the investigation, whatever outcome of the investigation, they will use that as a basis of evidence to prosecute Kwesi Kwarteng.
So you then agree
within
that
this context,
Kodjo erred by not informing the police, but rather hosting a press conference?
Why is he not? He's a member of parliament. He's not accountable to the people. He cannot tell the people and the.
But if he suspects illegality, why not go to the police and say, "This is what I suspect"? But holding a press conference, isn't that why we are seeing the way the whole issue?
Are you so much? Questioning the process or the merit of it? I am more interested in the merit of it. That this is a matter that puts the image of Ghana so low within the international community, that within a space of just less than 90 days, we are almost turning this country into a transit point for drugs. One was $350 million, the other about $2.1 million, and the syndicate that they said they busted at Sapema. As at now, interestingly, let me tell you, as at now, you are a media person, you may be able to educate me. Have you heard of any prosecution so far as these cases or these matters are concerned?
No, none so far.
Where are the drugs being stored? Where are they? Are they even in existence now? I mean, you have somebody like, of course, I don't want to indict him, but you have somebody like Mr. Kofi Boakye, heavily involved in the MV Benjamin case, now serving in Mohammed's administration. I mean, somebody who's at the time supervised a whole cocaine getting messing. Today he is serving at Mohammed's administration. I mean, you cannot connect the dots. It is the more reason I'm telling you that in matters like this, the test that you need to apply has to do with the logical consistency. If you look at the claims that Felix has been making, it is not consistent with the reality that in a space of just less than 3 months, cocaine matters here, cocaine matters there. Now 2 flies all of a sudden develop force. All of them develop force in Ghana, landed in Ghana.
Are you saying that is impossible?
I mean, it is possible, but even the timing and the circumstances. That's what I'm saying, that even in circumstantial evidence, you connect the dots.
Okay.
It is the more reason why we are calling on them to give us more, better and further particulars for clarity. The other question that you journalists also should be able to ask is that why is it that they are not interested in investigating it? And it is even against the directive that President Mahama gave. President Mahama said state institutions should collaborate with Intimidation to investigate. Then Felix comes in and rubbishes it. That we don't even have evidence.
Is that what he did?
And I'm telling you that it is not the duty of Intimidation to provide evidence. It is rather the duty of the state to provide evidence within these circumstances. Intimidation as a citizen and a member of parliament, responsibility or role within this matter is only to divulge information based on intelligence, based on suspicion, and the state is then mandated or enjoined to act on those information that is coming up. But from the posture of the NDC, it is very clear that they are complicit in this matter. It is very clear that they are trying to conceal information. It is very clear that they are being excessively excessively defensive. And we are telling them that investigation does not necessarily mean that you did it. At the end of the day, we want to find out what. Interestingly, a medical ambulance came here with nobody sitting in it, did not take anybody. And you see, let me ask one very final question. Is it a standard procedure that every flight that comes into Ghana, they go in with the officers and go and take a video? If it is not a standard procedure, we must ask questions. Why is it that in this particular case, assuming that admitting that the videos they are showing us is even a relevant video, a valid one, why is it that within this circumstance, they entered into the flight to take the videos? You took the video when the flight landed, but when it was on board and going back, you did not take the video and provide to us. We need further answers. We need more particulars. Other than that, this country, this Mahama administration is heavily involved and deeply involved in this cocaine saga. And they need to pay themselves.
First of all, I was shocked listening to my brother, who I know is a lawyer. And for that matter, when it comes to the burden of proof, I expected some deep knowledge in that regard. But unfortunately, like they do as a political party, he chose politics over law and politics over the national interest. Disappointing, to say the least. And I'll explain why. Ntim Kodjo is not just a citizen of Ghana. He's a citizen of Ghana with an additional responsibility of being a member of parliament. And not just a member of parliament, but also an additional responsibility of being a ranking member on the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament. It presupposes that much responsibility is expected from the occupant of such an office. So, if you are privileged to be occupying these two positions, member of parliament, ranking member, the Ghanaian people pay you with their tax money. So they expect some level of accountability. So just as he demands accountability from government, he himself is also under the radar of accountability because he needs to be accountable to the good people of this country. So it is not enough for him to tell us that he is providing information. It will be an irresponsible thing to do. It is not enough because that light of accountability, he himself must be held to it. You see, don't rudely interrupt in as much as your analysis was porous.
But Hamza, let me tell you, if Hamza wants to go on that line, it may be worse. If he wants to use words that are so strong, I've been very diplomatic.
You are rudely
very well,
interrupted.
very well.
Please,
Let's play it that way.
Let him land, please.
You see, when you were speaking, I had concerns over your conduct, your choice of words, but I kept quiet. So don't interrupt me. Now, he's not just a citizen, like I explained. He's a member of parliament and a ranking member. He owes us, citizens of this republic, who are not privileged to sit in that house as MPs or as ranking members of parliamentary committees, some measure of accountability. Just as the government of the day owes us accountability too. So they should not dare to create an impression that it is only the Mahama administration that must be seen accountable to the good people of this country. Our members of parliament are enjoined under our laws to be accountable as well. And so that knowledge should not be lost on any serious political communicator. So for Ntim Kodjo to hold a press conference and throw out such grave allegations, and mind you, he said that they have reliable information. It presupposes that they have informants. So if government, based on what you have put out, has come to say that they have gone through and they feel that it is not supported by the facts, you are enjoined as a member of parliament and as a ranking member of the Defense and Interior Committee to now unveil your informants, the source of your information, how you came to that conclusion, to assist the government in the investigation. You simply do not say that it was based on a mere suspicion. If it was based on a mere suspicion, you wouldn't hold a press conference. And to quote directly from his statement, maybe that would put the discussion in perspective. Josh, this is what the gentleman said. He said, we are reliably informed, presupposing that they have informants, that contrary to the expectation that the AMED flight would carry patients, the purpose for which it was designed and operates, it rather on this occasion carried suspicious cargo, suspected to be cocaine and cash in US dollars. So clearly, they have reliable informants.
Right.
Government has provided an explanation. You are not happy with the information that government has provided. It behoves on you now. The burden of proof falls on you as a political operative of our country, someone paid by our taxes.
But that
to now tell us
the context is different.
What?
The context is different.
It's not different. That is why I'm telling you that it has to do with accountability. Do you only hold the president to account? You do not hold your MPs to account? Let us be honest.
Right.
Our constitution is very clear.
Right.
Our democratic processes are clear. So the issue of accountability is not restricted to the president and his ministers. Even to our MPs, they must be held to account because we pay them as citizens of this country. So if you say that you have information that has serious implications on the safety of this country, and the government tells you otherwise, and you are still convinced that you have that information, it behoves on you to make that information public.
Okay.
Let us know those who gave you that information. And that is why it is not easy to say that the burden of proof is not on him.
Right.
It is. So, and again, you see, Josh.
Briefly.
All what this government is doing, the MPP party is doing, is simply to stampede. My brother asked, why is it that under Mahama we are recording so many cases of corruption? You see, what he failed to acknowledge is that we are not just recording. These are investigations dutifully conducted by our investigative bodies that has led to the discovery of these cases. The Superman one.
Yes.
Was it a press conference by the MPP that led to the busting of that particular syndicate? The one, the $350 million that was seized, that President Mahama made reference to. They did have to take the MPP to organize a press conference to prompt government for us to seize those cocaine that were concealed under a tipper truck with sand on it. What he made reference to. Did the MPP have to do a press conference? The questions we should be asking as citizens of this country is why over the last 8 years the government of the day, Nana Addo Bawumia administration, seemed not to be, they were not clearly interested in the fight against drug trade. You have a new government that, as part of the reset agenda, has shown commitment to that fight. And as a result of that, even in less than 3 months in office, we are getting results. It presupposes that in the past we had a government that was clearly complicit and were aiding and abetting the cocaine trade. Today you have a government that is busy arresting people, and you say that the government is complicit? And that is why, for me, I feel that it's an agenda to stampede this administration. They are overwhelmed, and they are beginning to panic. Their financiers connected to that illegal trade are beginning to panic, and so they have unleashed them to stampede government in its quest to root out that particular menace.
Right.
And I can assure them that the NDC is known when it comes to its fight against cocaine, unlike them. And that's why I gave you that historical background. We would not be derailed and we would not be stampeded. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is focused. They should communicate to their financiers that this administration will not entertain any drug trade in this country.
Okay.
And we are committed to that.
Okay.
And they will not stampede this government as far as that fight is concerned. And finally,
right,
Josh, you see, we are dealing with a political party that has the tangents, that has the style or uses as a modus operandi diversionary antics when it is pushed to the wall. Remember the ECG missing containers. When the Minister for Energy made it clear that some containers were missing, everybody knew that it was under them, but they were quick in an attempt to turn it as though the containers got missing under the NDC administration. When they were overwhelmed with the facts, they decided to let go of that particular issue and then moved on to their next agenda of drug, intended to stampede government. I'm sorry to disappoint you and your likes, but this government will not allow the NPP and its operatives to turn Ghana once again into a cocaine coast. They have asked questions, and you see, sometimes you wonder if they read. The Cape Coast seizure, for instance, as we speak, the suspects are to reappear in court on the 2nd of April. And you read his statements as ranking member of the Interior and Defense Committee, and he seemed not to even know that after the first court appearance, it was adjourned, and they are supposed to reappear in court on the 2nd of April. I'm not a member of that committee. I'm not even a member of parliament, but I have that information because that information was made public. And yet you proceeded to organize a press conference asking government to give you progress report on the state of those investigations. You are not even aware that they are before our law courts. What kind of irresponsibility is that?
Right.
So these are the kind of people we are dealing with. And Josh, I'm repeating this point again. This country must take our screening process seriously, especially when it comes to people we clear to contest as members of parliament, because it has serious implications on our international reputation and our national security. We are bringing the standards very low, and that is clearly unacceptable. I've had cause to say on this very platform that I know the likes of Kodjo. I know him very well. This is a young man who still needs guidance. This is a young man who needs grooming. This is not a young man who ought to be trusted with such responsibility. Because clearly, he's putting the security of this nation and our international reputation at risk.
Okay.
We cannot entertain that. And that is why I'm saying that our security agencies, by close of day, must ensure that this gentleman is arrested to serve as a deterrent to people who are likely to go on that tangent. Okay. Because he has been given the opportunity to provide evidence. He has failed to. Okay. We must be interested in that evidence. And if arresting him will make that evidence public, we need to ensure that he's arrested. Okay. That would have been in line with our criminal code. Because it is clearly stated.
Well, Hamza, thank you. Kwesi, you have the final bite on this, but we need to go for a quick break. So let's cool temperatures here. When we return from the break, we'll bring you. We'll come back to you. Don't worry. I'll let you have your time on that. Well, this is Jay today here on GH1 television. We'll go for a quick break. When we return, Kwesi Kwati would also have his take on the issue. Well, thank you so much for staying on with us here on GH today. This is the Breakfast Review segment, and I'm having a conversation with Hamza Suini. He's a member of the NDC's communications team. Also, Kwesi Kwarteng, a member of the NPP's communications team. They are both private legal practitioners as well. So, Kwesi, before we went for the break, Hamza was making a submission in reaction to some of the claims you made. Do you have the final bite on that matter?
All I want to say is that we all keep learning. Right. Hamza is a brother. Of course, I'm not the one to take him through communication tutorials. But when you are in government, there is a high expectation on you. As we are talking about standard. If you are a headmaster, you will probably can buy food along the roadside and eat. But when you become, say, the regional education director, you may not be able to do that. And so even when you become the minister for education, even the burden grows greater. It is a more reason why when you are in government, there is an expectation on you. I am very disappointed in Hamza. And I'm sure even if President Mahama is to see his posturing alone on TV today, it will be quite problematic. It was President Mahama who made it very clear that he will not tolerate any form of arrogance in his government. But look, just on a basis of a citizen, forget about Kodjo even being a member of parliament, a citizen, raising alarm on suspicions or allegations of a possible or imminent crime. Look at how he described the man. He is irresponsible, he is that, the people should be disappointed. I don't think it's fair. The basic question is that should there or not be an investigation in all the matters that has been raised? Granted, even without even assuming that the Honorable Intim Kodjo even made an incredible or gave an incredible information. Don't you think that in the light of or in the spirit of good governance, accountability and transparency, it is only proper to bring closure to this matter by investigating him? This posture of pride, arrogance associated with power, I understand the temptations to become proud come to the territory of being in power. But you see, one other lesson that we also have to learn is that the greatest mark of every great leader, including great communicators, is humility. That you can still make your points without the needless attacks on other people. Well, let me give you an instance. Was it not this same government who established ORA? I'm just trying to draw some logical inference. Who established ORA? What was the essence of ORA? To elicit information, right, from citizens and people, so that at the end of the day, the information will be done what? It will be forwarded to the relevant state institution to what? To investigate. Right. You get the point I'm making? To investigate. And after the investigation, what will be the essence of the investigation? You investigate so that you'll be able to bring credible evidence, so that that evidence will be then admissible within a formal court procedure. Then you continue the prosecution. When did it become a crime that citizens in their own country, upon suspicions, upon picking intelligence that there is a complicit or there is a possibility of a crime happening here, they cannot raise it? So that when you raise it, the state apparatus only response is to gag you, insult you, call you names, and then try to even malign you. I don't think that is the way for us to go. If we are not very careful, it is going to be very difficult for anybody to come out to even volunteer information. I don't care whose administration cocaine is busted. Remember Yalley Ametefe? Who among your government does he have close ties with? So if you want to lay those claims that this person or that person or this government, that's why I gave the premise that crime has no coloration. It doesn't matter. And don't make it pretend and make it look like whether MPP or NDC under any administration, there cannot be crime or there cannot be drug dealers. When you make it appear as though the financiers of MPP are the ones funding this business, you have arrested there are three different instances that you've made arrests. Mention them if they are financiers of the MPP. Mention them, mention their names. If they are financiers of the MPP, all those, the three, in the first place, assuming even without admitting that they are financiers of the MPP, how did 66 bags of cement, in terms of quantifying the cocaine, get into this country? whilst you are still in charge. If it is the MBB, arrest them. How did they get into this country? 60 states back, that is 3.3 tons. That is 3,300 kilograms worth of cocaine. You see, when I was growing up, as soon as anytime you hear matters that, oh, somebody has been busted with cocaine issues, often at times you hear that, oh, the person took a pellet, or the person concealed it in his traveling bag and has been busted at the airport. Remember the which happens to be their era anyway. But in this instance, we are getting or seeing a one-time significant and display of this, the volumes of this, and that makes it very crucial. You cannot say that matters like this not ought to be investigated. Even in law, we call something circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence, you may be able to take, well, Hamza came here. When Hamza came here, we heard of a gunshot. And after we heard the gunshot, we also heard that somebody has died. And for that matter, we should be able to connect the dots. As soon as I connect the dots, it is not my responsibility as a complainant to do the investigation and provide evidence. My responsibility as a complainant is only to provide information. And that information has to be on credible grounds. That hey, I heard this, I saw this, and I was involved, and I saw this, and based on that, there could be reasonable suspicion that A, B, C, D might have happened. I mean, when did this become a crime? That I cannot volunteer information, that as you are here, if you suspect that there is a crime that is going on here, you cannot go to the police station. You can only go to the police station, but the only thing that police will ask you that, is it a credible grounds of suspicion? Yes, I heard that a person passed here, or I heard that some 2 armed men came here. And for that matter, will the police tell you to go and arrest the 2 armed men? It will be unreasonable for the police to do that. Okay. So when you set up ORA, and on one side, expect that citizens go there and volunteer information. You even promise to keep the identities of the citizens very discreet, to the extent that you are going to work on them for whatever information that the committee has been able to gather, and then give to the relevant state institutions. I tell you, it is not the duty of Kodjo or any citizen to conduct state institutions. They are not paid to do so. But it is our civic responsibility as a citizen, any person, including whether you're a minister, even whether you're a president, to volunteer information based on your suspicion. Kodjo has never made a categorical or conclusive statement that there was cocaine in the place. All what he called for is that, can we investigate, because there are reasonable grounds to suspect. So where is this, one-time display of arrogance and dismissiveness and defense? Where did they come from? That we cannot investigate. What is preventing you from investigating if you do not have anything to conceal? If you do not have anything to conceal, what is preventing you to investigate? This is as basic as it is. You are suspected, or there is an allegation that you've trafficked drugs. Please investigate. Even President Mahama has given a directive for you to investigate. So why this whole posture about as though it is a taboo, it is haramic for anybody to say that we are calling for investigation? You cannot run from the investigation, whether you like it or not. You investigate.
But they're giving commitment to that.
What haven't they? Is it the defense?
No, the commitment to investigation.
But you see, that commitment has been defined. It has been defined. Yes. If you look at the defensive posture of people like Hamza, who are supposed to be in government, communicate for clarity, communicate to bring closer to matters, they are being very dismissive, they are insulting, they are being arrogant, and even attacking the personality of Kodjo. When did it become a crime for people to volunteer out information and question things that has happened? Of course, I am not an expert, but matters like this, they are experts of aviation. Can't we speak to them?
Right.
Are they not security experts? Can't we speak to them? These are all people that are all at hand, and we can all call them.
But the security experts have told us that we should tread cautiously with the way we are even talking about the matters. I've heard
it is because of how it is because of how the government has mishandled this whole thing. It's because of how the government has mishandled this whole conversation. If you had a government that is tolerant, then I'm coming there. How many times did Ablakwa not intercept documents? How many times did Ablakwa not lay claims? He lay claim, leak documents, intercept what? The only document that the interceptor general himself couldn't intercept is his own rent. For that one, he couldn't intercept. But we tolerated Ablakwa for how many years? 8 good years. I have intercepted this. The president has traveled here. The president has done that. The president has done that. We are calling for full committee investigation. We dealt with all those things.
But the difference is that with that, and I dare say, he put out some of the documents for us to see. In this case, Tim Kodjo has not put out anything.
Yeah, but you see,
and doesn't that give the ground for us to now have this conversation?
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you, that is a very simplistic and warped logic. Don't construe cocaine syndicate as very simplistic.
Nobody, you're the one who introduced that
I'm coming.
Analogy in this, and that's why I'm telling you that this is the difference. Then
I'm coming. I'm saying that yes, but you have to also situate it within this proper context. And the context is that nobody will carry cocaine and call you, and especially when it appears to be government sponsored. When it appears to be government sponsored, nobody will carry that volumes of suspected to have carried such volumes of cocaine and will leave those loopholes. That's why even in law we call something circumstantial evidence. I told you that in circumstantial evidence you do not need to present evidence properly, so-called in printed format.
But you are the one who introduced that black wire issue.
No, I am saying that yes. Yeah, a black wire issue in relation to the fact that this government is not tolerant. A black wire raised all forms of alarms. Of course, I mean it is even up to us to even interrogate all those claims that he laid. It may not necessarily be that every claim that he laid was valid. At the end of the day, when he lays claims, we have to investigate to be able to come to his logical conclusion. Okay. Is that not the case?
Okay.
But in this matter, even upon just the hearing that a matter has been raised, an alarm has been raised, these guys are being dismissive, these guys are being defensive, these guys are being intolerant. And I'm telling them that intolerant posture is not good for our democracy. A government cannot be excessively intolerant and still expect citizens to cooperate with the government. What they've done and their posture alone, by being dismissive, by being defensive, at the end of the day, puts that in a very bad image within the international community.
Okay.
I'm landing. If you recall, he said that he will not allow MPP to turn Ghana into a cocaine hub. Very unreasonable logic. Very illogical. It completely doesn't make sense. You are in government. And the fact that at our time, we did not bust cocaine issues does not necessarily mean that we're concealing them. Maybe in your time, people feel that it became a very easy route for people to transact that business. The big guys are in. We recall MV Benjamin, all those involved, Naila Metefe, associated with Ibrahim Ahmad. They are all in town. So the game changes. They now know that the grounds are fertile. Okay. That logic can also be advanced if you want to do the politics of it.
Okay, well, I'm sure that we can spend the whole day on this particular matter, but I need us to move on. Thankfully, we've had double bites on this particular one. But let's talk about some good news. Hamza, I don't like how you are staring.
I'm good.
You don't want to talk about good news.
I will, but just that I think that I am duty-bound to respond to the attacks on my person.
Very briefly. Very briefly then.
But, Josh, first of all, my brother sought to create the impression that when you condemn irresponsibility, irrespective of whose house is God, then you are engaged in being arrogant and stuff like that. He knows me very well. One thing that I am so angry with,
right,
irrespective of the political party, is any act of irresponsibility. My fidelity is not to any political party.
Will I respond?
Fidelity is to the national interest, the Republic of Ghana. And so if I consider your acts repugnant, irresponsible, I am duty-bound to show venom in condemning that, so that many of our young people who watch us on this platform would know that these are acts you don't engage in when you are entrusted with the responsibility of leadership.
Can I respond? Is it done?
It is very important.
Okay.
And so you do not take that lightly. That point needs to be made, especially when you are dealing with a political party that has no respect for security standards, that has no respect for the national interest, that is only concerned about its parochial interest.
Right.
You need to let them know
Okay.
that this government is not ready to deal with them with kid gloves.
Okay.
He used 2 minutes, so can I respond?
No, because you raised concerns about his about how he addresses, so he's just responding to it.
But never waste our time. If he has the time to...
I mean,
unlike him.
But I can't do things.
Unlike him.
I'm not being treated for
raise issues about poison foods, expired foods that were sold.
We're introducing new things.
So now you don't want. They say when dry bones are mentioned in the proverb,
introducing new things.
Old man become uncomfortable because he knows where I'm going. That arrogance they displayed in government, and of which he was the official spokesperson from the Ministry of Education.
He said there's a temptation.
Attacking people.
He said there's a temptation when you are in power to lean towards that.
You see, that is his talking trait.
Now, I think it's only fair for me to respond because he's breastfeeding.
And briefly, Kwesi, because you need to
I'm not done. Please,
no. Then I may have to get out.
I'm not done.
Because
I'm not done.
No, Kwesi, hold on.
People are monitoring.
You responded and even gave level allegations against my personality.
I will give you your time, and then you can also do same.
People are monitoring.
Yes,
you see, we are lawyers on this platform. When you are quoting legal principles, when you are quoting legal principles, try as much as possible not to taint it with politics. When reference is made to circumstantial evidence, you know that it is simply not a bundle of a multiplicity of suspicions that you throw out and expect people to buy. It is a higher responsibility that if you are making reference to circumstantial evidence, you must demonstrate beyond reason, beyond doubt, that indeed the allegations you are making is enough to ground further probing. And you simply don't do that by providing information. You do that by adducing evidence.
With the flies coming in. With all the flies coming in.
When you are speaking, I was quiet.
But will you allow me to speak?
I said I'll give you time.
Oh, fair day, he can speak.
I'll give you time, Kwesi.
Oh, he can
please. Relax. Let him learn.
You have to meet that standard of proof. It is not simply on the basis of providing information based on a multiplicity of suspicions. I suspect A, B, and C. Right. You need to show how connected they are with reliable evidence. So you don't sit here and quote legal principles and seek to taint it with petty partisanship and expect me to be calm. Because most importantly, apart from being committed to the republic of this country, I must also uphold legal principles.
Right.
And if I correct you on the basis of that, don't say that
you are arrogant.
No. Don't say that we are not being accommodative of your views.
Okay.
Finally,
Hamza,
how many finally had
talk about
Tor?
Briefly.
But I think I can respond.
I'll come back to you for you to also have your bite, and then we talk about Tor briefly.
And that is the beautiful thing about this government.
Right. Have you forgotten the points you raised? The first one. Now you
won't forget.
I
put them down.
You see, but you cannot.
Hamza,
have gone through the law school and say that you have forgotten will be disappointed.
Proceed and stop those. Well, law students don't forget.
Hamza, talk to me about Tor because
but that is not by the way. That is just by the way. That's just by the way. You see. I think that the point needs to be made that what is happening from Tor feeds into the government's objective of transforming state-owned enterprises, at least resetting them from losses to profit-making institutions. So for me, it is not surprising. And I know the individuals who have been tasked with the responsibility of turning Tor around. I've had the opportunity of working with a number of them.
Yeah.
And I am pretty much convinced that these are people who are capable. And it has nothing to do with Tor alone. But this information is important. You see, when you go to the Tema Oil Refinery, I think that it has two critical sectors. The refinery bit and that of the terminal operations. What seemed to be posting this increment in revenue has nothing at this stage to do with the refinery bit, because they are yet to start that wing of the Tor operations. What is happening has to do with the terminal operations. And I had an engagement with one of the officers there, specifically the Deputy Chief Executive, Mr. Edmond Combat, and he made it clear that what they have done is simply to more or less reset the operations there. So if you look at the transportation bit, that is the oil fuel tankers.
Yeah.
That transport, mostly they transport from about 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Because of their agenda to implement the 24-hour economy, they started with a pilot program of increasing the time from 8 a.m. to about 10 p.m. now. So instead of ending at 4, now they end at 10 p.m. So clearly, it has resulted in an increase in revenue to Tema Oil Refinery. Quite apart from that, what they have also sought to do is simply to replace some valves. That has to do with their internal transportation system through the pipes where they push fuel to bulk distributing companies and storage companies like Bust. So clearly, as a result of that efficiency, it has also increased their revenue target in that sector. Right. Then they also engage in what we call storage of petroleum products. So they have also tried, within a matter of a month, to cut down on wastage. And they have also succeeded in nipping all the avenues where criminals take advantage of to fleece the states. And as a result of that, it has all contributed to the spike in revenue. So I'm told about 150% increment.
So like $2.9 million.
So clearly, so it has to do with efficiency, and that's what President Mahama has been talking about. And I feel that the TOR example should inspire many of our chief executives to take a cue, and learn from that desire to bring about transformation as far as these various institutions are concerned. For me, it has to do with leadership. And I'm proud to be associated with a government that so far understands that. And I've always argued that, to the contrary, maybe people feel that President Mahama's attention is on the ministers of state. But if you observe him closely and monitor him, you'll get to realize that he appreciates that the success of his administration will very much depend on the state-owned enterprises and not ministers. And that is why he has had the opportunity. He directed that SIGA should be empowered to be able to reach or have performance contracts with many of these chief executive officers so that we can monitor the progress of these institutions. And he also had an engagement with CEOs, clearly communicating an interest in how we man our state-owned enterprises. And that is the kind of leadership we need. That is the kind of leadership that has been missing over the last 8 years. So for us to have that injection, that confidence into the system, the least we can do, irrespective of our political party, is to support the president and the state-owned enterprises to at least begin posting profits. And I'm sure that my brother seated here would be more than excited if we are able to effectively man our state-owned enterprises and create job opportunities for even his younger ones out there.
Thank you.
The experience that we've had over the last 8 years, where people were simply interested.
Please find out. No, Hamza, please.
They are so quick to take credit, but they are not tolerant to even take criticisms and also admit responsibility. Isn't it interesting that you've been in office for just less than 90 days, less than roughly 3 months, and you want to take credit for the revenues and over 10 and...
But I've told you what we've done there.
The administration cannot take credit for that?
3 months, they did...
He wants us to take credit for it. He wants us to bear the brunt of cocaine. Can you imagine that?
I'm coming there. Can you imagine the hypocrisy? I'm coming there. You just came 3 months. You are taking credit for, how do you call it? Measures that were put in place to project this outcome. But you don't want to take responsibility for your cocaine government. It's up to me.
I just showed you how we took responsibility.
Within 3 months, you engineered the $2.3 million.
Because you have the floor.
No, which reasonable person will believe this?
That
within 3 months you came.
But I just gave you basis.
Hold on. If you want to take responsibility,
did you achieve that over the last 8 years?
Oh, come on. Governance is not an event. Stop that.
But
within 3 months, what did you do? You just even passed your budget. What did you do?
Right.
I have just told you.
You just even passed your budget. That 3 months. You passed your budget. What is the meaning of that?
I told you we increased the timing.
Your budget was just last month. He's interrupting. That's his topic.
He was not listening.
I won't even talk about it.
No, because you have nothing to talk about when it comes to
But it won't make sense for anybody to say that you just came 3 months, your budget was just approved, you just appointed a CEO there, and this is as a result of your crazy.
Of course,
you didn't do it.
I told you how.
How take responsibility for doing so as well?
I told you from transportation.
Hold on.
We increased it from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m.
You made your point. So let's
stop the rules. I told you.
Kwesi, you have the floor. Oh my goodness. Kwesi, you have the last bite because we need to wrap up.
I'm saying that if they want to take responsibility for that, they should also take responsibility for doing so. They should take responsibility for the... Recently, they said about 40 excavators that they are missing. They should take responsibility for that. And the containers, they should also take responsibility for the containers. Initially, remember the minister said there are about 300. Now he amended his rate and said there are 250. And now he came to say about 1,000 something is lost. Not knowing even at their own level, they've not done a proper reconciliation. The National Security Minister has, or the coordinator has apparently evacuated some. He himself, the minister, National Security Minister, did about 706. He himself, the minister, did about 240. And subsequently did around 75.
Right.
They've not even reconciled these figures. So I don't even know upon which basis they say 1,000 something is lost. So you need to also take responsibility.
Right.
But just quick response. He spoke about the expired rights. First of all, you can make reference and go. You can send your producers to the FDA. So far as FDA is concerned, there was nothing like expired rights. Okay. Maybe that will be the last comment I'll make on this.
Right.
And again, when I gave updates on my Facebook wall, a lot of people did not read or probably did not understand. I said that after speaking to Buffer Stock and Laments, this is the update that they gave us. Then quickly, Ablakwa and Co twisted it, spin it, intercepted it. I was there. Oh, let me put it. What is that? I don't know. I was just somebody testing me. Even ambassador who just
yes,
because you are too young, why are you defending Palestine? I said, Jesus Christ, now you see me to be defending Palestine. But anyway, that was just that. These people branded and twisted the whole thing. But let me, it's one of those things.
Yeah.
Again, he also spoke about the fact that he can criticize in Team Kodjo on grounds of accountability, which he feels that if in Team Kodjo is demanding accountability, it's only fair they also have to demand it. I think nobody is questioning that. It can be done. But I'm saying that the language and the posture can still be conducted within the high plane of dignity and respect to everybody. You can do that, but at least let's be minded with our language and our posture, especially when you're in government.
Right.
But it's a government syndrome. When you're in government, you forget of everything, you defend everything, and yes, we just be at the corner.
We are not like you people.
Finally, on circumstantial evidence, he said,
where you wouldn't have been able to even sit in
finally, on circumstantial evidence, he said, I'm a lawyer. I quoted it. I mean, this thing is done in court. Sometimes they may even make you feel that you are not even a lawyer. But I don't know.
How you felt.
I don't know. He repeated the same thing I said. Let me. It's not your time. That circumstantial evidence, you need to connect the dots, but you need to establish a higher grounds for reasonable doubt. What is more higher grounds than saying that 2 airplanes came, another 2 came, cocaine has been missing, people airmen which ordinarily supposed to carry medical, which supposed to be a medical ambulance did not bring anybody. So on that ground, investigate. What is higher grounds than that? But yesterday, make you look like you are not even a lawyer. You forgotten that you are a lawyer. And with his communication, brand new as though he didn't say anything, but he repeated the same thing I said. I am on that note. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. I mean, it's been in fact, I think we'll pay you more often to have those lawyers. But Kwesi Kwatin, private legal practitioner, member of the New Patriotic Party's communications team, and then Hamza Suini, also a private legal practitioner and a member of the NDC's communications team. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. So that's it for the Breakfast Review segment. We'll return with more interviews right here on GH Today. Stick and stay with us. And this is GH Today here on GH1 Television. My name is Joshua Kodjo Mensah. It's time to get into another conversation for the morning. And this morning we are zeroing in on youth development. We say that we the youth, make up a chunk of the population. And so if the country is to develop, it depends on us, the youth. But really, is that the case? Well, I have my guest in studio, David Ni Ajay, is joining me for a conversation on this particular development. He is founder of Code 57. David, welcome.
Thank you, sir.
I hope you're doing well.
I'm doing great. I hope you're doing well as well.
I'm okay. But how has it been for you so far, trying to work with young people, work on their minds, being able to introduce young people to opportunities and all of that? How has the journey been?
I mean, it's been, I would say, about 5 years now, leading on to 6 years. And the truth is that it hasn't been the easiest because, again, you're not just dealing with the mindset of the young people, you're dealing with the system. Because sometimes, even though you feel like you've gotten the mindset of the people in a certain state, you still have the system to deal with. Because sometimes the system doesn't make it such easy for you to implement certain things that will literally help the people. So it hasn't been the easiest, but we've been very much determined over the years, and we've been able to open certain doors, create opportunities and platforms for the young people in Ghana. And of course, there are much more things that we're looking to implement to actually help the young people in Ghana.
So what brings you back to town?
I mean, for the past 5 years, I've been back to back. For those that know me, you know, every time I'm in Ghana, the purpose is simply to advance the work of building a system towards building a progressive nation here in Ghana. One of the things that Code 57 does is that we understand that we can't really come in as an individual. It's got to be a system that understands how systems function within Ghana in order for us to be able to empower our young people towards nation building. So when we talk about nation building, we do understand that when laws, policies, and all of these things are passed on, it affects our daily lives as young people. Therefore, it is also our responsibility to be concerned when it comes to national affairs. When it comes to national agendas, we should be concerned as young people. So I always say this, we're all involved, regardless of our ages, we're all involved when it comes to the national issues.
Interesting. And talking about national issues, on the 68th independence anniversary of Ghana, you penned a letter, an open letter. Would you say that in this 68 years, we've been able to provide enough opportunities for the young people of Ghana?
I think we're still behind when it comes to opportunities. I do believe that, you know, our leaders are trying what they can do, but as a nation 68 years old, I think there's a lot much more of catching up that we need to do. And again, it is our responsibility, like I said, as young people to come together to see how best we can advance the work. So more time I know that we can criticize the government, and it is only right to hold our leaders accountable when things are not going wrong. However, what can we as young people do when we come together? Because we are a powerful force. We can come together and create things that will help the nation progress to where it needs to be. So as much as we've got to hold our leaders accountable, let's also find ways in which we can support our leaders to make the nation progressive.
So earlier you talked about mindset. Correct. And then systems. Now, having had a taste of both worlds here in Ghana and outside Ghana, what would you say is the difference in terms of how the mindset of the youth here in Ghana and the youth abroad?
Well, I would say what makes a difference are the opportunities. Okay. Because obviously over there in London, we have systems that work, even though some systems may not be to the best of how we would want it to be. But there are systems and structures in place that hold our daily lives, and which allows the average young person over there to kind of like think and believe that it is possible to achieve certain things. Whereas when we come to this side of the world, it's like you're all by yourself. Whether or not the system's working, you've got to find your way out. And again, one of the things that I've seen over the years is that it has discouraged a lot of young people, because a lot of young people feel like there is no hope because the system does not help them or propel them to advance what they want to be able to do. So I think what we can do as young people is to find ways in which we can create these systems, and that's what Code 57 has done. Okay. So for example, Code 57 is very diverse in various ways, where we offer platforms to deal with health, to do with education, to do with creative, to do with social welfare. So we have all of these platforms that cater to individuals and communities in various regions. I mean, so far we've covered about 9 regions where we have different projects and initiatives happening all across. So these are things that we're looking to strengthen our systems that we currently have. And so far, I believe we're doing so well. I mean, every single thing we've done so far has been done by the young people, for the young people in the communities, which shows us one thing, that the young people are definitely ready, capable and responsible enough to handle national affairs if given the opportunity.
Right. So now we have, for instance, an Ashanti regional minister who is, 34 years. I mean, does that excite you to see a young person being given that kind of opportunity?
100%. I think that's a dream. That's an inspiration. When you see a young person leading, that's an inspiration. And I do feel like Ghana should get to a place where we need to start opening up to our young people. We need to start embracing and also allocating and giving the mandate to our young people. It is time for our young people to lead. There is no doubt when you look at other nations, young people are leading from presidencies. So it is very much time for us to open up for our young people.
Now, talk to me about technology. What role does it play in all of this? Equipping the youth, empowering the youth, opening up opportunities for young people. What role does technology play in all of that?
Well, I mean, when we talk about technology, and again, when we look at Ghana, I know we try to bring in the whole try to digitalize everything, but for me, in terms of when we talk about the digital side of things, we've got to ensure that, Ghana's catching up with things, because again, when you look at the other side of the world, they're very much advanced. Now, how can we as a nation catch up? There are so much young people in the nation that are very skillful when it comes to the digital side of things. There's so many young people. So how can we then create platforms that will enable them to get involved in the digital space to also advance the country?
Interesting. And at Code 57, what really do you do there?
So Code 57, like I said, we are a system that's designed to empower and help raise young people towards nation building. So what we tend to do is create platforms and opportunities for our young people. So whereas we go into different communities and different regions, find out the issues that they face in those communities, and also find out the problems in those communities. And not just find out the problems, but we would then create a solution to these problems. So these are the things that Code 57 has done. And like I said, we have various ministries such as the health, education, social, creative. So when a young person walks through our door, they would by all means find a platform and opportunities within the Code 57 family.
Now, talking about even the digital space, so government has a commitment. And interestingly, both political parties in the run-up to the elections had similar promises that, because of how we are advancing in terms of the digital space, we're going to train 1 million youth in coding. For you, what do you make of that?
I mean, when we talk about that, we've seen how advanced AI has been right now. Everyone's literally just doing AI. It's not hard to get access to AI. It's not hard to just jump on AI and do things. The world is advancing, and we've got to be able to catch up. I'm hoping that Ghana will do what it says that they will do in terms of the promises that they've made to the people. The coding side of things, very much something that's very much needed. And I do hope that a lot of young people will get the opportunity in such space to advance their knowledge and their skills when it comes to that.
Right. And often when we talk about the youth, it's more about what needs to be done for the youth. But what about what the youth can also do?
That's correct. And this is why I said from the very start, we as young people should also need to find ways in which we can empower our leaders. We're not just here just to criticize our leaders, but what can we do as young people? And that's why exactly when you come into Code 57, we're not just doing stuff for the young people, but we're empowering the young people in terms of leadership. What can you do? How can you take yourself and deploy yourselves to various communities to support the works that the government or the leaders are currently doing in those spaces? So it's not just more about, what can we do for our young people, but how can our young people rally around this table, put all our talents, our skills and everything together for us to be able to go back into our communities in various regions and impact. By doing so, we know that the young people are also giving back to the nation.
Well, I had a conversation here with the CEO of the National Youth Authority, and as a youth authority, one of their biggest issues now is to deal with the abuse of opioids in the country. So now the popular one is RED. and we see young people hooked on these drugs, and it's a big worry for the ministry. What for you is the problem when it comes to young people and then getting hooked to these things?
Do you know, I think everything boils down to leadership.
Right.
Ghana shouldn't get to a place where the leaders are very much far from the people. Because when you do that, the young people would not really have a role model to look up to. Now, as Code 57, as myself, I live in London, but I've made a mandate to be in Ghana literally every 3 months for the past 5 years. And that's simply because I want to be able to relate with the people. I want to be able to feel their struggles. I want to be able to put myself in their shoes and also understand where they're coming from. With most of these things that you've spoken about, there are ways in which these things can be tackled. Now, our leaders would have to, unfortunately, go into these communities, sit down with these young people. And I know these are things that we don't often see, but these are practical things that leaders need to do. Go and sit down with these people, find out how best we can help them turn their lives around. And there are different programs and activities and initiatives that we can take to them as a different option, letting them know that there is much more to achieve in life than what you're currently doing or what you're currently seeing. So I do feel like there are programs and initiatives that can be put up for these young people to help them turn around their lives, and which is very much possible. These are things that we're already doing in Code 57. So yeah.
Interesting. Well, David, let me take your final words. I mean, there are a lot of young people watching you now, and even more would watch later on social media. What would be your message to the young Ghanaian?
Well, I think it's very much simple, and like I said it from the very start, we're all involved. We only have one Ghana, and it is only Ghana first. So let us all get involved with the things that are happening in our nation, not just criticizing our leaders, but let's see how best we can all hold hands, support our leaders, and keep building our nation. At the end of the day, we only have this one Ghana that we're all living for. So, yeah, let's hold hands together and let's keep building. Thank you.
David, thank you so much for coming. So that's David Nyaje. He is the founder of Code 57, speaking to us on a very important topic that has to do with young people, youth development, and making sure that we are set on the right path. This is still G Today here on GH1 Television. We have another conversation right after this. Stay with us. The show this morning, we have another conversation, and this time around it borders on health. So let's bring you our talk in health today. Well, my guest this morning is Dr. Catherine Atto. She is the National Program Officer, Reproductive, Maternal, Newborn, Child, Adolescent Health and Healthy Aging at the World Health Organization here in Ghana. That's a long title. Yeah. Well, good morning. How are you doing, Doc?
Good morning. I'm good, thank you. And you?
I'm okay. And I'm glad to have you in the studios this morning.
I'm happy to be here.
Right. So talking about health, when we hear of the World Health Organization, we're looking at a very big global body. But really, what is your role in Ghana's health sector?
Okay, so the World Health Organization is one of the agencies of the United Nations, and our key focus, as our name suggests, is health. In Ghana, we work in collaboration with the Ministry of Health as a technical advisor and also as a strategic partner. So in every aspect of health, our key role is to help in the development of policies, guidelines, strategies. We help in capacity building, everything that's got to do with health. WHO is in there, right, alongside the government.
Okay, so what are some of the impacts that your being here has had on our health sector on the whole?
Okay, so it's a whole lot, but
I can tell.
When it comes to technical support in the WHO office in Ghana, for example, we have right down from non-communicable diseases, communicable diseases, reproductive maternal health, health information systems, health financing, and human resources for health. There's every technical unit there in the World Health Organization. So what we have done is to collaborate with government when it comes to, for example, emergency response. I think everybody remembers COVID and how the World Health Organization was there. Recently, we can talk about the cholera outbreak. As I speak to you, my colleagues are in the central region of Ghana.
Okay. Which is one of the worst hit areas, though.
Yes. So they are administering the oral vaccines in the central region. Not long ago, meningitis was in the Upper West region. WHO was there to support with vials of medication for them. Last year, I think you remember the floods that happened in the Volta region. Yes. WHO was there to support with relocation of the displaced persons to ensure that health services are not lacking in the settlement that they had, and to make sure that their mental health needs were taken care of. Off the top of my head, just last week, non-communicable diseases team came out with the STEP survey that talks about Ghana, how we are doing with our non-communicable diseases, because you agree with me that before it was a lot of communicable diseases that was the leading causes of death, but now we have the hypertension. Yes, they have taken over. So in every aspect, you have that. I think in 2 days, my colleagues in health, human resources for health, they are partnering with the government to do the national policy dialogue, and this is on human resources for health, how the Ghanaian workforce is going to be absorbed here in the country and also outside the country.
Interesting. Then it looks like the WHO has been really busy.
Yes, we have been. We have been.
We're all talking about achieving universal health coverage. It's something that every country I know is aiming at. Now, how is the World Health Organization supporting Ghana in achieving universal health coverage?
When it comes to universal health coverage, we're talking about everyone, everywhere, receiving the utmost quality of care, and regardless of their economic status. So WHO has been supporting the Ministry of Health and all its agencies to ensure that even at the lowest level of health care, everybody is able to access health care, right down from how the health care is financed, to capacity building of the health workforce that works at the level of CHIPS compounds, health facilities, right down to the, right up, should I say, to the bigger and teaching hospitals and the tertiary health facilities. When it comes to the guidelines and the protocols that are used in delivery of care, when it comes to, for example, an obstetric care. WHO has helped to develop guidelines when it comes to family planning, comprehensive abortion care. There's also actually WHO working at the community level to ensure that there's integration of the care at community level, at outreach level, so that you see WHO when it comes to vaccine, immunizations, we are all over the place. So, yes.
So how are we doing in terms of achieving UHC?
Ghana is actually doing well. When you see, sometimes when you are within the country, it looks like, oh, we're not doing.
Yeah, we feel like, oh, well, we're not doing well. We're not seeing that happen.
Ghana is doing very well. Our health workforce is one of the best in the continent and in the world. You would attest to the fact that when Ghanaian health workers leave the shores of Ghana, everybody's like, oh, I met this Ghanaian doctor, this Ghanaian
But that's why we are seeing so many of them leave, especially the nurses.
Yes.
We're seeing an exodus of nurses.
Yes, yes. There's the positive and the negative sides of that as well.
But it gives an indication of the quality that we have here.
Yes, yes. It just shows that the quality is very high. So as I was talking about the dialogue, we would have to strategize as to how the government can absorb a lot, and then how some can be exported so that everybody benefits. So down at the community level, WHO is involved, as I said, in the capacity building, in integrating the healthcare even at the community level, so that everybody is able to access care and quality care, not just any type.
Not just any type of care. The care needs to be quality.
Yes.
Interesting. Now today is a big day, not only for WHO but for all of us. Today is World Health Day. Now, what's the theme for this year?
Okay, so this year our focus is on mothers and newborns. The theme is Healthy Beginnings, Hopeful Futures. So we're looking at investing in healthcare such that right down from when a girl child is born, she's healthy till she's at the stage where she can have a healthy pregnancy, deliver a healthy baby, and we also ensure that this baby gets to grow and live up to their potential. So not just growing, but actually thriving. If you start right from the basics, adolescent health, we need to ensure that they have good information about their health, they are taking good care of themselves. We are not depriving girls of education. Their rights are ensured, their education is ensured, they have good health care, and they are able to grow, achieve their potential. They are healthy. They can go through healthy pregnancies. When they are pregnant, we want to ensure that there's good antenatal care, there's skilled delivery at birth. In the postpartum period, they are seen, their mental health is taken care of. Their children are seen at the child welfare clinics. All vaccines are made available to these children. And for all those causes, those things that cause maternal and newborn deaths, most of them are preventable. So we put in place measures to make sure that we don't have women dying when they are delivering, and we don't have newborns also passing away from causes which we can do something about.
So healthy beginnings
and hopeful futures.
Interesting. So in this lineup, talking about adolescents all the way to childbearing and then the child also growing up, where would you say is the most challenging that we need to put a lot of focus on?
Okay,
in that journey?
So we say we focus on the continuum of care, the whole life course. But if you start from the beginning, as the theme is saying, if you start from a healthy beginning, it's most likely, the probability is that this person would grow up into a healthy adult who would have healthy children. And we all know that the foundation of society, the foundation of any nation is good family units, healthy family units. So if you have a mother who is educated, who has a good job, who is healthy, she is most likely to go through a normal pregnancy, normal delivery. She is able to take good decisions about her health. She is able to know when to go to hospital, when to see danger signs and seek for help, and she's able to better take care of her children.
Right.
And that is what assures us of a hopeful futures.
Interesting. So how is the World Health Organization commemorating this day?
So today just marks the beginning of a year-long campaign.
Right.
So this campaign about healthy beginnings and hopeful futures is has a few aims. We want to, one, draw people's attention to the gaps that we have in maternal and child health. Today, there's new statistics are out, and when you see, it says, oh, worldwide, we have 300,000 women passing away every year from preventable causes of maternal death.
So these are deaths that we could have avoided.
Yes. Yes. So the fact that they can be avoided, we need to identify these gaps. In country, in the sub-region, we need to advocate for governments, for civil society organizations, for donors to invest in maternal and child health. We need to put the stories out there.
Right.
You know, sometimes we hear stories, and sometimes when it's not close to you, it seems far away. We hear stories of, oh, this woman was going to deliver, and this nurse did an excellent job delivering her, even under circumstances that are not the best. We want these stories to be out there. We want the advocacy to be out there. We want to ask everybody to be invested in maternal and child health. We want to ask families, if you have a pregnant woman in your family, you need to be able to give that support. And together we can ensure this hopeful
So talking about maternal and child health, how are we doing as a country? And how is the World Health Organization also supporting in that stride?
Okay, so Ghana is doing very well.
We seem to be doing very well.
So if we look at the current figures that we have, as at the year 2000, maternal mortality ratio was 474 per 100,000 live births. So for every 100,000 babies that were born, we had almost 500 women passing away. And that's a lot. But by 2000, we had come all the way down to 264.
Okay.
And this, you can see, is a gradual decrease. The issue here, though, is that the SDG goals 3.1, our aim is that by 2030, we should be able to hit 70 per 100,000 live births.
That's five years away.
It's just 5 years away. So if we are hovering around 260, then we have a lot of work to do in order to get there. That is why this call to action is very important. That is why we need to look at all the gaps. Where are all the gaps? Are we attending antenatal care, which, by the way, Ghana is doing excellent. We are at 98% antenatal coverage.
Okay.
When it comes to skilled birth delivery, it goes down a little to 87%. So it means a lot more people are attending antenatal than going to deliver in health facilities. We need to look at the gaps there and do what we can, invest in filling those gaps. When it comes to the highest causes of maternal death, hemorrhage, bleeding during delivery and after delivery, what can we do as a country? Do we strengthen our health facilities, the blood donation service, so that at any point in time there are blood and blood products available? Do we ensure that the ambulance services are there to make sure that women reach care as early as possible? We strengthen our health systems just to ensure that women get the utmost care you need. WHO has been involved in capacity building of midwives, and when it comes to the protocols that have got to do with rights from children to adolescents to maternal health, WHO, in collaboration with the ministry and our funding partners, have been strongly working in that space.
Doc, I wish we had the luxury of time to even get deeper, but I'm sure we'll have you back on the show and have further conversations. But thank you so much for your time this morning.
You're welcome.
All right, so that's Dr. Catherine Atto. She's National Program Officer, Reproductive, Maternal, Newborn, Child, Adolescent Health and healthy aging at the World Health Organization here in Ghana on Health Alert. Today is World Health Day, so make sure that you're paying attention to an aspect of your health. If possible, go for screening today. It's very important. Doc, thank you so much. Let's now check out birthdays, and if it's your birthday today, the 7th of April 2025, we say happy birthday to you. God bless you so much. Let's quickly go through the birthdays now. This one says, well wishes from your bestie Sila. Bountiful blessings may you be served with on this special day. You are everything and more I could ask for. I love you, sis. That's from Sila. This one here says, have a wonderful one. And that's how we draw the curtains on the show today. I am Joshua Kodjo Mensah. Good morning.
GH1 OB van has been one of the best vans I've used personally in this country. It runs a system where we are able to run on Dante to be able to do our broadcast mixed well also from this van.
I've used this OB van for quite a number of big productions, i.e. 3 music awards, the late President Rollis' state funeral, Miss Africa Awards, and a number of them.
My experience with the GH1 van has been the state of the art equipment they have. Personal experience is you can use it for both indoor and outdoor, all events, conferencing, like anything you need a van to work for you, GH1 provides it.
My experience with the van has been very good. Why? Because it has a number of facilities that I may not get in other vans. You know, the van has a very wide bench that can accommodate all my technical crew. ICC, switcher, graphics, CG, and all of that. And then it also has a studio, a green room studio that comes with TriCaster. So if you want somebody to do commentary on a live event, you can put that presenter who's in that studio as well and get that running.
To give an experience to our audience, we're also watching on TVs and online. Work with an Exo technology system, which makes your video mixing with Panasonic cameras, like a lot of other stuff in terms of content you need to get also for your live broadcasts.
I prefer the GH1 van to a lot of other vans I've used, or even doing my own setup on a tabletop setup. Because on a production you see a number of people in the van. And so if you have a very small van, it means that it's going to be choked, and that will affect the creativity as well. The price has been discounted as well to accommodate varied budgets. And so no matter the budget you have, I understand you can have the truck and do business with it.
It looks huge, but very affordable. Cost is really, really affordable. My experience with it, EMI Awards last year, super excellent. Try it, call them, and I'm going to give you the best of price. Really affordable.